So Dread is a indie RPG game which kind of replaces all of the dice rolling mechanics of games like Dungeons and Dragons with a metaphor of a tower of dread. And whenever your character has to do an action which is either under duress, in difficult circumstances, or in a skill area that they're not really experienced in, you have to draw one of the bricks from the tower and then place it on top to complete it. You can draw from anywhere in the tower, but it has to be from the kind of lower levels. You can't draw from the top, obviously. So it's very much like the game Jenga, so very similar thing. You might be asked to draw additional bricks if there's a particularly dangerous situation, and should the tower fall down, then your character is removed from the game. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're dead. Okay, so you could be incapacitated, you could be knocked out, you could be driven insane, maybe trapped temporarily, and if it happens very early in the game, I might do that for narrative purposes, just so that I can then bring your characters back in at an opportune moment. So it's normally the kind of final acts of the game where collapsing the tower will kill a character. So it's possible people will be killed. Right? In that situation, I might resurrect you in other ways, but I'm not going to say anything more than that for the time being. What I've done, which is not part of Dread, this is something I've just done for ease, if you like. I've kind of prepared myself kind of a little story map just to kind of help me out here, because I can't retain all of it in my head. But you've also got a character profile on a flashcard, and you've got some pens if you want to make notes, if you want to scribble things down, or keep a record of anything that happens to your character. So for example, if you sprain a muscle or something, you want to scribble it down. So you've got some pens there just for making notes about what happens to your character. And that's essentially it. So the general kind of setup to the game we'll go into next, and you need to decide what kind of information you are prepared to share with the other members of this team. Some of that information, if you consider your character, will probably be secret, and you probably wouldn't want to kind of just blurt it out right at the beginning. You might choose a time to reveal it, or you might indeed want to conceal it at all costs during and that will drive some of the tension between the characters. You might decide that actually that kind of information would be quite obvious, so I'll share it here and now. That's entirely up to you. The story takes place in Sussex. You are, for various reasons, gathered together in a small village called Hexam, and you are there because you have been invited, in rather strange sort of scenario, you've been invited to take part in an urban exploration which has been organised by Verity. So Verity has contacted a world-famous urbexer, a man called Stu Ivey, who's been a bit of a reclusive figure. He's kind of disappeared from the scene for a while. No one's quite sure what happened. There's kind of talk online of some bizarre event that happened up in Leeds a few years back, and after that he kind of disappeared off the scene and no one heard from him for a while. However, somehow Lea has, Verity's character has tracked down Stu Ivey and has paid him a sum of money to get him to lead a trip to a place called Hexham Hall in the village of Hexam. The reasons for it are not very clear, but during the course of it, you were lurking online in this rather dodgy part of the internet, because you've also kind of got a vague interest in kind of urbexing. You've been looking into it, and because you have a bit of a dodgy history of being a kind of urban street protester and these kind of things in the past in your youth, you know how to access certain parts of the internet, and you've been stalking some of these kind of sites for a while, just out of curiosity and vague interest, not because you're involved in anything dodgy, but just because you're kind of curious. And you kind of got involved in the forum discussion, which led to Verity inviting you and someone else along on this kind of expedition as a kind of first time outing. And you've heard the name Stu Ivey before, you don't know anything about him, but you're quite keen. Your partner, Charlotte, knows a lot more about urbexing, and she has heard the name many times because he's got a legendary reputation in the field, so she's also kind of curious about it. But as it starts, we're in this village pub. It's kind of a dark, musky kind of place. It's a Tudor building. There's a kind of barman working behind the counter who looks a bit kind of tired and grumpy, and you are waiting late in the afternoon for the arrival of Stu. Alright, he's running late. You were meant to meet at about 2 o'clock. It's now getting on for 4 o'clock, and you're getting slightly annoyed at the fact that he's not turned up. And that's where the kind of opening of the story takes place. So, I will also introduce you at an opportune moment, but for the time being, you guys are sat in this pub.
So, Charlotte supposedly has decided to come because she's experienced, right? So you've done this before.
Well, you guys guys have been dating for a while, so you kind of dragged her along on this trip.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know about this stuff, and I don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I was doing that when I was younger, but then I stopped. But then we're gonna do it together again.
Okay, cool. That sounds interesting.
Very romantic. As long as you help me get to where.
And who is this guy, Stu? What do you know about him?
Who?
Stu Ivey. He's a famous urbex explorer.
I don't know so much about him.
Yeah, you do.
It might well be that it's just one of those things that the names kind of become famous in their own way.
Yeah, okay.
There's things like on YouTube and stuff, and even though he's not actually recorded any of his own material, you know, you've been caught by other urban explorers and kind of crossing paths, and people have filmed him, so he's become a bit of a kind of like a myth almost as much as a man. But you're aware of him, right? Anyway, the barman is kind of looking at you suspiciously from across the room and looking very, very shifty. He doesn't seem to be very comfortable with your presence in the bar.
At me or everyone? The
whole of your group. I mean, he's someone who kind of like doesn't seem to like the look of outsiders from the village and is getting kind of a bit edgy.
Has Stu arrived already, or are we still waiting for him?
You're still waiting for him.
Still waiting for him.
That's probably because we're dressed very dark clothes and. No?
What are you doing here? You guys aren't from around here, are you?
No, I'm. Sussex is nice. We're gonna have a stroll, have a look around.
Just want to get some food and some drink before we go out.
Yeah.
Well, you've been here for a couple of hours now, and you don't seem moving on. You've already eaten before, so what are you doing?
Oh, just waiting for a friend.
The group is not quite complete yet. So.
Group?
We're just waiting for our friend. Who's going to complete our group of 4, and then we're going to make a move.
So where are you guys heading off to then?
I'm just walking the woods maybe. We hear Hexham Hall is quite nice. Do you know anything about it?
What do you know about Hexham Hall?
It's the estate around here.
Yeah.
Well, the business I do leads me often to historic places, so...
Well, if I was you, I'd be staying well clear of that place. It's not safe. I mean, the building's been abandoned for a few months now, ever since its owner passed on, and there's been a few kind of issues with the building and people kind of rummaging around out in the woods around there. I'd be staying well clear of it if I was you.
So it's not open to the public anymore?
It's private property, and you guys don't exactly look like property developers to me.
No, I'm not about to develop anything. Not in Hexham, anyway.
What do you think about Hexham then? What's wrong with Hexham? Why are you laughing? Look, you lot should just clear off as far as I'm concerned. You're not welcome here. You're not here to kind of buy anything or do anything, are you? You're just causing trouble.
We've been good customers to you, sir, so far.
You've been sat here for 2 hours and you've barely bought more than a drink.
Fine.
What do you expect your customers to do?
I expect my locals to come and spend some time with me.
Doing what, exactly?
Well, that's for us to know, isn't it? So at this point, looking rather dishevelled, Stu kind of stumbles into the room. He looks a bit kind of tired. He's hiding he's hiding his eyes with sunglasses, but it's very obvious that whatever he's been doing for the last few years, he's been living a more nocturnal lifestyle, and he's now joined you in the bar. But thinking about your characters and your characteristics, consider how your feelings might kind of run at this point, given how late he is. It's kind of late winter at this moment, so you're losing light in the sky. You've got some equipment with you, but it's not not really designed for the kind of exploration at night. So in he comes.
Hey, finally!
Are you Verity?
Finally, you're here.
No, I'm Verity.
Verity, right. Who are these?
I'm Ken. Charlotte, Verity. Who are you?
I'm Stu.
You're Stu.
It's Mr. Ivey. Glad you could make it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, sorry I'm late.
Are you alright?
Fine.
You sure you're fine?
Yeah.
You're fine enough to go out and do some exploring, or?
Do you think I'm not?
I don't know, you look like,
I thought it would
tired.
be helpful if we had
Fine.
a couple more people tonight on our venture.
Okay, well, more eyes is always useful, I suppose.
Yes, and
They look
looking
like
at
they've never done anything like this before, though.
Oh no?
No.
Oh, I've done all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
what?
so if you can share any aspect of your character at a time you feel appropriate. You can do what you wish.
Yeah, I've done, I'm into extreme adventure sports, biking, climbing, you name it,
This is a bit
water
different.
sports. I can take it, don't worry.
What about you, Verity? You said you'd done this sort of thing before.
to be honest, not really, not in the style that you do it, but I'm intrigued, and I'm hoping that you can help me have a look around Hexham Hall, because I'm interested in the property.
Okay.
And
And what about you, Charlotte?
Yeah, I have some experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Years ago, I've been to many places,
Right.
and yeah, I'm excited to go to the new place. I want to take some photography, make
Okay.
some pictures.
Well, I guess we'll make the most of it with what we've got then.
yeah, since the light is fading and we've
Yeah.
already lost time.
Ready to go?
This barman, I don't like the look of him at all.
No.
He doesn't look like
No.
So he's kind of cleaning kind of things at the counter at the moment. He's kind of staring at you from across the bar. It's very obvious he wants you to go, despite the fact that this bar's empty at the moment, so it's custom, but he clearly is very agitated at the moment. He keeps kind of pacing up and down and staring your way periodically. So
Well,
what are you
maybe
gonna
we
do?
could.
Alright, let's go. Let's just
Let's
go.
go.
Let's go away. Yeah, we're obviously not wanted. Let's hit the road because we're late as it is. Okay, let's go.
So
Let's
you,
go.
you step outside of the bar and you can see the kind of sign. You can see now just how much light you've lost. There's already a very dark sky forming. It's overcast anyway. There's rain clearly on the way. But something catches your eye on the kind of the sign, one of these really old painted kind of signs flapping in the wind. And the pub is called the Silver Moon. But you notice around the edge of the sign is kind of strange symbols. And Verity, you might well have seen these things before, but you kind of can pick up a kind of a note, something to do with art history, or the kind of symbols remind you of something you've seen once in a book somewhere. But this is a very old kind of village pub. It's quite possible it's just part of the history of the place. But you're looking out on this kind of road now. It's bizarrely very, very quiet. There's not a single other person around, not even any signs of cars, bicycles, anything. For all intents and purposes, it could be a movie set. And this one single street leads out from the village, heading up towards a hill and some dark woods in the distance. There are some kind of footpaths going off, but even though they're kind of right away, they're overgrown so badly it doesn't look like they've been used in years, if indeed at all. So, what are you going to do?
Well, since I hope you know the way. I'm sure you're.
Why would you think I know the way? You asked me to come here.
Oh, I was hoping you'd be prepared for tonight.
No, I'm prepared. I just don't know the way to the hall.
Okay. Well, I think there's a sign down there. Maybe if we go
So
down.
you can see at the very end there's a kind of faded, kind of one of those National Trust kind of signs pointed out, but it looks like it's been vandalised a few times, and yeah, you don't feel confident that it's pointing in the way that which it was originally placed. And given the kind of the propensity of the locals and how they felt about your presence, it's not all that unlikely that they've gone out of their way to sabotage anything to do with tourism in this village. So if you're going to try and figure out which way the sign was originally pointing, you're going to have to go up and examine it a bit more closely.
While they're trying to sort of talking to each other, I go to the window of the bar and I peek in, just sort of over the side of the windowsill and try and see what the barman is doing.
Okay, well, the windows, it's a big old Tudor building, and the windows have this heavy kind of leaded effect, and the glass is quite murky. But you peer through and you see something which kind of takes you aback a little bit, because as you're looking through, it's almost as if the glass panes are vibrating slightly. It's almost like the effect you get when a truck goes past, but there's no traffic anywhere in sight. There's not even any sound. It's ever so slight kind of vibration in the glass. And the barman is standing near the wall of the kind of caskets and seems to be reaching into something, but you're pretty sure that where he's reaching at the moment, there was nothing there before and there's no space there. So it's almost like you're looking at an optical illusion through the window and you're not quite sure what you're looking at.
I take my phone out and I snap a picture of
Okay, well, I think you're going to have to take a pull from the tower for that, because that's going to be a thing of luck whether or not the camera's going to be able to resolve that image through the glass.
Okay. What are the rules for taking? Can I just like take one off the top?
You can't take it from. You can take it from anywhere from the second row down, anywhere at all. But once you remove the brick, it has to be done in one hand, and you have to place it on top. You can also decide not to go ahead with it if you feel that it's not worth your time.
Not worth my time.
Okay.
Not for a picture. I come back to them and I say, hey, the barman is doing something really weird.
You think so?
Yeah.
Have you seen something?
Yeah, he's doing. There's something weird going on here.
When?
Just right now, I looked in the window and I saw him kind of doing something weird, and the building or the windows were vibrating.
Well,
slightly.
those are old windows. Maybe we should stay focused and just make our way to the house now.
Yeah, let's go fast better before they see us. Someone sees us. Because I don't want to be seen.
You just remember what I said. Something weird is going on here.
Well, you still got the rather big issue of the fact you don't even know where you're going at the moment. So
I take my phone and I Google Hexham Hall.
okay. Well, yeah, you've got a smartphone. You pull it out, but unsurprisingly, there's no signal.
I've downloaded maps before.
Okay, well, the overcast weather is kind of making the GPS a little bit sketchy, but it gives you a vague sense of direction, and so when you get to the sign, you realise that it has indeed been kind of turned around deliberately and moved. That it looks like the sign itself has physically been uprooted and moved somewhere else in order to disorient anyone going there. But you eventually realise that it's pointing at one of the overgrown paths leading off into the wood line.
Okay. Are we going to go and look at this place or what?
Yeah, because it's getting dark. Let's just go, yeah.
Yes.
We'll talk some more when we get there, maybe.
Okay, so as you're walking along this kind of pathway, you realise it's quite badly overgrown. You've got a multi-tool with you, so you could easily kind of cut away some of that on the way through. But you eventually get to what remains what looks like a very old kind of stone pathway. It looks like it's been left there for many years, and it picks up eventually and follows a kind of track that leads into a road, and then you follow that road up to the grounds of a very large looks like a Tudor kind of mansion, and it has this kind of large main building and then a smaller building which looks like it's been built more recently but still nevertheless very old,
like a gatehouse type thing.
Not quite. It's like a big L shape, something like a wing that's been kind of joined onto the house, but there's a great big fence around them, huge stone wall, and there's an iron wrought gate fence in the front of it, so there's no immediately obvious way of how to get through that to get into the grounds of the actual hall itself.
Well,
Is the gate locked?
It's got a massive chain around their padlock, which has been rusted, so it's been closed for quite some time.
Okay, is it fairly easy to climb up and get over?
You could try and climb it. It's got kind of like spikes and things on top of the fence, so you'd probably have to pull to do that. But you've got climbing experience, so you could probably get over without any hassle. But whether or not your party could do the same is unlikely.
Have we got anything that we can use to cut the chain?
Well, you've got your items on your cards there, so you told me what you brought with you.
Maybe let's go around and check if there's another.
Okay, so you kind of so you circle around the back of the house. You follow the kind of wall, and you eventually find there's a kind of crumbling part of the wall, and you're pretty sure if you push on it, you could probably sneak through and get in that way.
Let's try.
Yeah.
Seems worth a try now.
All right. Let's put our.
Is it dark?
Yeah.
It's getting dark, but this wall looks pretty crumbling and unstable. And it's 6 foot tall. It's much bigger than you. So if you're gonna push on that wall, someone's gonna have to make a pull from the tower to, just in case any bricks fall on you.
Yeah, let's go inside.
Yeah, let's go through.
Let's push all together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's going to take a pull from the tower?
I'll do it.
Yes. Slowly. Not down.
So the fence kind of, the wall crumbles in kind of spectacular fashion. It is indeed as old as you expected it would be, but it leaves a nice kind of ramped effect leading up and over the kind of the pass of the wall you've created, so you can easily walk over now and get into the actual grounds of the house proper. Okay. So you all climb over and you find yourself stood in what looks like the remains of a very old kind of, it looks like a fairly recent addition to the house, some kind of driveway which has been built in later years, but again still overgrown overgrown, so it's been quite some time since any traffic's come through that way. There's what looks like the remains of a well in part of the grounds. You've got the remains of a kind of a slightly fallen down barn, just a little bit distance from the actual building itself. But the house itself looks in reasonable condition. It's a big Tudor building with, you can see the thick beams. The roof's sagging a little bit, so it's incredibly old. And you can see these large, kind of heavy-set doors, very ornately carved. In fact, the thing you're starting to notice that all the woodwork on this building, it's not like conventional Tudor buildings. It seems that everything's been kind of carved into it at some level. So it's a very kind of richly detailed ornate house. So whoever lives here clearly had a lot of money.
Yes, they were quite old though, so this may explain the disrepair in some places.
So you seem to know quite a lot about this place.
Yes, I won't lie to you. I've been here once before, which is why I got interested in this place. And I met the owner once. But since I decided to come back, sadly, they passed away. So now I'd just like to take the opportunity to visit once again before they...
Did you manage to get inside before?
Yes. I had to return something to the owner, which he kindly lent me. And that occasion, it was for business. It wasn't private.
I'm gonna start taking some pictures.
Okay, so you can take pictures of the house. You get some nice sort of things. I mean, obviously, you may want to share why you're taking those pictures, and obviously, you might want to kind of consider whether or not you want to be in those pictures, considering your own personal motivations. But if you want to really kind of examine and really kind of make the most of that, then you might consider pulling from the tower to see what kind of things you might reveal with your camera phone.
Why would you pull from the tower?
If you want to see something particularly.
No! You have to pull from the tower.
Go on.
Just not for taking the pictures.
You can take a picture, you'll get some nice souvenirs, some records of your journey and your travels, but if you want to really see what's going on, perhaps zoom into the windows and see and think of the house itself, that's going to require a little bit of skill to use the camera. It's not really something you're particularly, so as a journalist, you're used to taking pictures, but it's not really your main field. So
You're a journalist?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah, if you could leave me out of those pictures and concentrate on the house.
I'm fine not being in them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if
I think.
I'm alright. I don't care.
I don't do pictures.
Yeah, just make sure they're good ones.
So you're snapping off photos, you're getting some nice architectural pictures, but nothing that remarkable. It's just pictures of an old house. You're pretty sure similar ones exist on Google Images already of Hexham Hall. So it's up to you whether you want to go further with, or whether you want to just press on with looking at the house itself and getting inside.
Yes.
What are you guys doing in the meantime while you're dodging away from this
just
photographing?
having a look at the doors and the windows.
Okay, well, you're looking in one of the windows in the ground floor, and you can start to see a little bit of the interior. But something kind of odd catches your eye, and you're pretty sure you can see a light from one of the windows in the ground floor. But the light itself seems to be moving. It doesn't seem to be stationary. It's kind of flickering a little bit. It could be an oil lamp, it could be a candle. You're not entirely sure, but there's definitely some kind of light source there moving around in the lower floor.
Okay, I'm going to just sneak up very carefully to that window and just peer in.
Okay, well, yeah, you're well known for your stealth as an urbexer, so that's well within your skill set. So you get up to the window and you look through, and there does seem to be something glowing in the ground floor. It looks like some kind of shimmering effect. You're really not sure what it is. It's definitely not a candle. It's definitely not any kind of lantern you're aware of. It almost looks like some kind of reflection of a different light source within the building, but you can't be certain.
Okay.
Are you sharing that information, or are you?
Yeah, I'm going to share that quite freely with you. I have no idea what it is, but there's a light in there. It seems to be flickering around.
Have you been using?
I'm gonna.
Flash? If there's someone in the house, I'd rather they didn't see the flash from your camera.
I'm not gonna use the flash, but I'm gonna take pictures of everything.
Okay.
Yes.
So one hand.
Oh.
Yeah, you can explore the tower and then choose which one you want to go for.
Oh.
Oh, it's not gonna fall so early.
Not yet.
So you're taking, quite a number of rapid photographs, and then you decide to sort of pause for a moment just to review what you've taken, because you're not sure if the settings are optimal for the lighting conditions you're in. And it's at that moment you realise that one of the photographs reveals that there's a window on the ground floor which seems to have come away from its actual surrounds, and you're pretty sure it's wide enough that you could probably get at least part of your body through it and inside the building.
Well, maybe that's the point where you can prove how well you are at what you do, and get inside. Maybe open the door from the inside.
I'm going to do that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, okay. One thing is like to go in somewhere that's private and that's illegal. I don't care about that. But if there's somebody in there, do you really want to do that? But there's light in there. What do you think it is? Just
I don't know. But I didn't see a person.
We should be careful. Let's call. Let's say.
I'm in favour of going in.
Ring the doorbell?
Yeah, let's ask if someone is here. Let's ask instead of being.
Well, there's no. To be honest, there's no harm, as Ken says. If there's someone in there, we maybe shouldn't take the risk, unless you want to sneak around someone you don't know.
Well, we don't know
who it is or where he is, or.
I mean, what's the risk if we ring the doorbell? We don't get in if there's someone in there that doesn't want to let us in. Do we want to go in this place, or are we just here for? What are we here for if we're not trying to get in?
It's at this point you start to kind of detect the traces of some kind of strange smell. It's almost like rotting eggs, but you can't quite place where it's coming from.
But at least if we ring the doorbell and no one answers, we know that, well, the chances are...
If we ring the doorbell and someone's in there, they know that we're there.
While they're discussing that, I'm curious about the well. I'm always curious about wells. There's water in wells, and I have a bit of a relationship with water. So I go to the well and I shine my lantern.
Your LED light.
My LED light down the well.
Okay, so you realise that there is indeed water down the bottom, but it's very, very shallow. It's probably only maybe half a foot of water down there. But what you do notice is there seems to be a kind of shadowed, recessed area towards the back of part of the well.
Okay, so there's a tunnel down there. Okay, tell them, well, there's a tunnel in the well if you want to go that way and don't want to risk going in the front window.
Are you sure you want to go there?
I think it's a less conspicuous way of getting in there.
I thought you were in favour of ringing the front doorbell to check if there was someone there. Why do you want to now go sneaking through a tunnel?
Well, now that he's fine.
If indeed there is a tunnel.
Well, didn't Verity say that? I'm not sure.
I thought you were all in favour of knocking politely on the door.
You're really starting to lose light now. The weather is kind of reclosing in, and you can feel the first drops of rain falling. And you're concerned that whilst you have got a charged LED light on you, you're not sure how long it will last and whether it will be anywhere near sufficient to explore the interior of the house, or indeed find your way back in the dark. There's no street lights in Hexham. It's a very old-fashioned village, and time is starting to kind of gallop away from you.
Well, I'm very conscious of my my LED light and conservative of the battery, and I've also got one on my fairly charged phone. So, but yeah, I'm losing patience. Forget it. Let's just go in. Whatever. I say let's just go in.
Okay.
Do you want to go first?
Who's going to try and get through the window?
I'm happy to go first.
Okay. Well,
you just give me a moment.
Yeah, let him go. He's the expert.
Well,
just give me a moment. I just need to just.
Well, you're a little bit past your prime, but you manage to kind of jam yourself into the window, and as you do so, the actual pane of glass kind of comes away from the wall itself and falls, but it emits an incredibly loud shattering noise as the glass hits the brick, and now there's a kind of moment where everything in the area just seems to fall silent for a second, as if the entire woods, everything around you is now very much aware that you're there.
Yes.
Great idea. Great. That was awesome.
Yeah.
See, you know what?
I was getting an expert.
I'm an expert once I'm inside.
Well, if someone is inside, he or she knows we are here.
See, that's just great, Verity. You see,
so let's
chose the right guy.
So I think I'd be crouching near the window, against the house to see if someone moves inside.
I guess I'm just
Apart
inside,
from
I'm
you.
inside the house at this point.
You're inside. You're
Yes.
feeling a little bit embarrassed because you've got this reputation to uphold. Normally, you work alone, mainly because if you're honest with yourself, the reputation you have is perhaps not as deserved as everyone thinks. You've survived quite a few urbex explorations. You've been picked up on camera doing what seems to be amazing feats of stealth and dexterity, but in reality, most of the time you've been running away from stuff. But nevertheless, you have that reputation, so you feel your pride's a little bit dented. And now you kind of feel the need to kind of prove yourself. So you might want to put that down on your notes there. You've kind of now got this drive and determination to impress the rest of the group. Your pride's a little bit wounded now. The others are also waiting outside and looking at the jagged remains of what used to be the window and feeling a little bit embarrassed because if there is someone inside, they've just essentially breaking and entering now. It's gone a little bit beyond the peaceful and sort of legal realm of urban exploration now to what you're pretty sure is a criminal activity.
Breaking and entering, yes. I'm gonna just wait outside for the moment and not go in the actual house and see if anything happens. So, and selfish. Just,
I'm gonna stay with you.
Yeah, you stay.
Let's prepare
You stay with
an
me,
excuse.
honey. Yeah,
if
don't
someone
go.
comes, we should tell something, some excuse.
Yeah, we lost our way. We're not from here. The wall was broken. It was getting dark. We stumbled in here.
Or we're looking for
and
a cat.
we found somebody breaking into the property.
While they're bravely hiding, I'm going to sneak to the door,
Okay, so
try and open it.
when you look around, you find yourself in what looks like some kind of dining room, and there are a couple of very large oak doors which can lead off from this room into what you presume to be the hallway, which will connect you to a corridor that, again, presumably leads to the front door. But when you go to try the doors to open them, they're not exactly locked. In fact, there seems to be something blocking them on the other side. And when you look closely, there seems to be some kind of what looks like a waxy residue kind of clogging the panels, and there seems to be something that has kind of oozed through the wood and it's now sealed the door shut. When you look around, you can see there's a fireplace against one wall. There's a large kind of table in the middle, big enough to seat quite a number of people. There's chairs and various other things. But the thing that catches your eye the most is that there seems to be evidence of scorch marks all over the room. Not quite evidence of a fire. They seem to be more localized and random, but very, very unusual. In fact, some of them seem to even reach up past the wall. And what's really conspicuously unusual is the fact that none of them are near the actual fireplace itself, which seems, in your opinion, quite strange.
Mr. Ivy! Mr. Ivy! Can you see anyone?
No, there's nobody there. I wave out the window, there's nobody there.
Okay, can someone give me a leg up, please?
I might be coming out of this room. I can't get through the doors.
Are you
The doors are
climbing?
blocked.
What do we
Oh,
do?
so you're trapped in that room?
Well,
Well,
there's
not
no
trapped,
way out.
there's the
I'm not
window
trapped,
out
I
again,
can get
but
out.
you haven't really explored the room.
Okay.
So you can't go to the front door. I have to go
I
through
can't
the
get to the
window.
front door. Well, I'm not sure we can get out of this room yet, so just give me a moment to have a look round.
Okay, so if you're going to thoroughly search the room
Yeah.
and really explore, yes, you're an urban explorer, so you've got some experience, but because of your tardiness earlier in the day, because you've lost so much light and you're not carrying any kind of lighting equipment with you, you're going to have to pull from the tower to really closely explore and look around.
Meanwhile, we've been waiting outside.
Go explore.
Have I noticed anything happening? So, any sounds? Any attention drawn?
The smell. You've been kind of pacing up and down. You're a little bit pissed off, if you're honest. You're annoyed that you've lost so much daylight because you've been waiting for this man. You actually feel quite confident in extreme sports and activities. So you feel you could probably have gone on ahead without him and still achieved your objective. So you're kind of pacing up and down, and then you notice that there's this strange smell again, but it seems to be moving. It doesn't seem to be localized. It's not emanating from something. It seems to actually be kind of moving around the courtyard, and it's not clear how or what it is or how it's doing what it's doing. But it smells more and more like a mixture of kind of rotten eggs and that really kind of stale old smell of like a science lab. It's very, very odd.
I've had a good look around the room.
Okay, so while you're in the room, you realise that the fireplace that's part of the house is huge, great big kind of stone thing, actually has a panel at the back of it, which is kind of is a thinner stone which has crumbled away perhaps over the years, and you can see clearly that it leads on the opposite side to an identical fireplace, and you're pretty sure you could actually simply climb through the hole in the fireplace to reach the room on the opposite side.
Okay. I go back to the window and whisper to Verity, who's there, and the bravely hiding guys, that it's okay, guys. I've seen stuff like this plenty of times before. There's a panel at the back of the fireplace, and it leads through into the rest of the house. So don't worry, I've done dozens of these things. So.
Shall we go in? I'd like to take a look.
Ken.
Ken, yeah.
It's the first time. Everyone's going to make mistakes, don't worry. Getting into it.
You decide what to do.
Yeah, let's follow them.
I mean,
If you're gonna go in, I'm gonna go in.
It's smelly out here anyway. Let's just go.
yeah.
I'm not sure.
It's possible. It could be the smells of the old drains and things are clogged. It could be anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care. I'm not sort of suspicious about anything. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a smelly old broken down abandoned house and
Sure.
dead animals and that sort of stuff.
Could very well be.
Yeah.
We are here, so let's go inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
He says there's no one there, so let's go.
Well, both of you guys have got climbing experience, so you make your way into the house without any effort at all. It's just like a walk in the park for you. Verity, on the other hand, is kind of still outside and looking at the kind of jagged bits of glass and wood and things around the frame and feeling a little bit awkward because you've essentially all climbed inside and left her there on the outside without helping her with a leg
We're
up.
gonna help her.
Now, well, you're already on the inside now, so she's pretty sure she's a capable woman. She can pull from the tower to climb up herself.
Cranking up the difficulty, aren't we here?
We just got in the house.
Louis.
Guest starring Louis the Cat.
He makes a fine point.
Oh, careful there.
Whoopsie.
Okay, so you've managed to kind of find a reasonably secure kind of grip on the window where you're pretty sure you won't cut you into your fingers, and you climb on inside, and you kind of stand there almost in shock because whilst the others have been fumbling around in the dark, the beginnings of the kind of the afternoon sun as it's starting to set just hit the kind of the surrounding wood frame and panelling inside this dining room, and you're almost agog because you can see that the entire room has been carved into with tiny symbols everywhere, hundreds of
Same
things.
symbols as the.
And they are exactly the same kind of symbols you saw on the sign at the pub.
And what do these symbols look like?
You'd have to talk to Verity.
You actually don't know that Verity just saw them, and she's aware of them. Something that Verity saw.
Oh, well, I am the only one who saw them.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some experience in this kind of area. You look at them, and you've got a little bit of background in art history. You studied that given your career, and you have this vague awareness of them. You've seen them somewhere before. But you're probably, it's more like a kind of like a passing familiarity. You can't quite place it, so if you want to kind of think about it deeply and more perceptively, you're going to have to pull from the tower to realise what they are. Or you could just press on into the house.
Yes, let's just have a look around first. So we can only see them because the light.
They've just not noticed. They were so fixated on finding a way through the house to the door that they just didn't really
But
properly
it's the
take it in.
light that illuminates.
Yeah, as you come in, the sunlight's kind of just catching the kind of the edges of the kind of the carvings, and you can see them all. And it's not so much individually; they're not that remarkable. It's just a sheer number of them. Hundreds of these symbols carved into the beams.
Did you see the ones that were around the pub sign?
Yeah, I think so.
And do any of these remind you of those?
Yes, they seem to be the same ones.
And they were here last time? Last time you.
Would you mind
opening the door for Louis?
Yes.
Just leaving.
Got a cat break.
So nice.
Cat break. This is like an advert break, but with cats. Louis.
Is there not a cat you mentioned?
This is what happens when you have a cat as a producer. They're very unreliable. Right. Anyway. So you're still standing there, kind of agog at these symbols. They're almost breathtaking in their appearance, and you're just taking risks with death now.
Amateurs.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like to know what they mean. I would like to remember. where
Okay,
I've
so
seen
you're kind of pondering and thinking deeply. So if you pull from the tower, you're pretty sure with some concentration you can detect what they are.
if you put some light on them, I can take pictures of all the symbols, and then
You
we
do
can.
like taking your pictures, don't you?
Yes.
Well, I actually don't know that she's like what she's looking at because
Well, then
it's something that she.
analyze.
Yeah, you guys are
Verity saw.
remarkably chilled about the kind of the backgrounds of your current partners. They're very, very sketchy people,
Yeah.
and you seem remarkably chilled about the fact that they know some pretty obscure stuff. Anyway,
But they haven't said anything. Like,
No,
It's,
so you're-
it's just like, as far as I'm concerned, they're just doing some urbex and asked us along, but they haven't been very sort of open about who they are. But on the other hand, we haven't either, so they haven't sort of asked much either. So
Well, all you
it's
want to
gonna-
do is like have a look around
Yeah,
the old
just
house.
like,
That's
yeah.
why you're here, right?
This is a pretty weird house. I mean, it really feels haunted, doesn't it, guys? And that's a pretty cool hole in the stove, isn't there? The fireplace.
Do you think someone is coming here? You normally?
Maybe some squatters. I don't know. Maybe some.
I'm not sure it's haunted. I think just because you haven't got the experience, you're just getting freaked out by it a bit.
No, I don't
easily.
believe in that sort of stuff.
it's at that point that you can hear something. Perhaps it was the crash of the window earlier, or the fact that you've been talking quite volubly and not really being that stealthy at all. But you can hear what sounds like a voice from somewhere deeper within the house. But it doesn't sound like someone angry or agitated. But it's definitely might be a human voice and calling out with. It sounds to you like some kind of trepidation. You're a pretty intuitive character, person, so you listen. You're pretty sure that there's someone in the house calling out to see if there's anyone there. You can just hear this echoing sound. It's really faint, so you can barely detect it, but there's definitely something going on in the house.
I think we should just explore very fast. Look what you have to look, and let's go. Let's
So
go
we-
out from here. We have seen enough, I think, and I took a lot of pictures. Let's do the last rooms.
I think if we're going to
And
go
then-
through here, we'll go through at the pace that I've set. We're not going to just go rushing through. I know you've not done this much
Yes.
before, but I have, and we'll take
Nah,
our
it's
time.
fine. We're fine. And
I don't have a good
that said,
sensation.
I rushed through the hole in the fireplace to the next room.
Okay, so you've kind of
Let's
gone
go
through.
there, and then let's do it fast.
They were
I'm sure-
talking about it, and I just basically.
So while you're kind of on your hands and knees crawling through, I mean you're pretty relaxed about most of this stuff, and you're crawling through, and close behind you, Charlotte's just on your literally on your heels, and having a background in urban exploration, this stuff is this routine. It's perfectly easy for you, but you're kind of halfway between the fireplace when you start to feel the ground vibrating around you, and the vibration seems to be in the room behind you, and it's again that weird kind of humming, vibrating noise, and you're pretty sure something is coming into that room. Something's kind of detected you're there. It's kind of interested in the noises you're making, and it's coming your way.
And guys,
In the room they are.
You both are currently blocking the fireplace, and these guys are in the what looks like the dining room, and whatever it is coming their way. So if you're going to get through, you need to hurry.
So I realize also that it's
You can
starting-
feel it.
yeah.
It's a palpable vibration.
I get through. I grab
Are you
Charlotte
feeling
by her arms and pull her through.
Okay.
Ladies
And-
first then.
and
Experience before beauty.
and look through the hole and see what they're doing. If they're coming through as well or not, and just like
Get
Yeah, as
through
you're peering through, just to kind of like urge them to come on, you can see in the far wall behind them. These guys haven't noticed it yet, but there is something. Again, you saw that weird effect earlier in the bar, and this kind of shimmering, vibrating strangeness. It looks almost like an optical illusion. It almost as if your eyes are going in and out of focus. And it might well be. It might well just be a trick of the light because this room is so dark and your eyes haven't fully adjusted. But that combined with the vibrating is making you feel very, very uncomfortable. You're pretty sure that the two things are connected, and you start to feel this sense of you're used to fear, but this is something else. This is an entirely different emotion you're feeling right now. But it's setting off all your senses that kind of alert you to danger. Whatever this is, it isn't good.
I scream through and I say, "Hey, there's something in the wall. Get through here."
Okay, so
let's stay all together and let's.
if you guys are going to rush through, you're going to have to pull from the tower. Otherwise, you're going to face whatever it is coming through.
both of us. Or
Yeah. You're
use
both
your lights.
you're both kind of at the fireplace now, but the hole's not big enough for both of you to go through. One of you could probably get through quickly at a push, but someone's going to have to make a pull from that tower.
Okay.
I put my I pan through to like try and help anybody through as quick as possible.
So who's going to go first?
Well, I really need to get upstairs, so I'm going to grab that hand.
I'll let Verity then.
Okay, so yeah, you kind of forcibly yank her through to the other side, and as you're doing, your eyes are locked on this thing because whatever it's starting to kind of take more form and more mass on the other side of the room, and it seems to be coming into the room now.
Through the wall?
You're not sure. It's a very dark and very big room, so it panels. It could feasibly a door that you've not seen.
Just kind of like materializing.
It's just something there. It's not quite. You've never seen anything like it, but it's there, and the vibrating now is getting to the point where it almost feels like your hands are resting on a stereo speaker.
Does it have a distinct form or anything? No. It's just like
not yet.
I'm not entirely comfortable with this coming into the same room as me, so I'm going to try and get through as well.
Can you make a move, Mr. Ivy? The upper one.
Okay, so just as you kind of your hands are kind of reach through the fireplace, and you've got your fingernails caught on the very edge of the kind of the hearth, and you're kind of pulling yourself through, but you can feel something on the back of your legs. It's not quite pressure or hands. It's like a tingling sensation, almost as if your legs are going numb, and you're kind of starting to kind of feel drowsy and strange. You can't quite explain it. It's almost as if you're slipping into sleep. But as you're kind of hanging on there, the others kind of pull you into the room just in the moment of time, and you sit there kind of slapping your legs, trying to wake them up again, as if you've got pins and needles running through you. But after a while, you kind of you get your senses back.
Right. I keep on looking through to see what is going on.
Well, the moment you kind of all get through the room, the vibration stops as sudden as it was there. It's gone.
Okay.
What was that? Did you see that?
I'm holding you like this.
So anyway, once you kind of that moment passes, you're looking around the room, you're taking it all in. You guys are kind of just embracing there and just
then
in silence.
Like,
you're
what
not
was
quite
that?
sure what the hell
We
going
don't
on.
know.
So you've kind of you find yourself now in what looks like
It's a bird.
well, it looks like some kind of, it could be a drawing room, it could be some kind of room of leisure, because there's some very beautiful ornate chairs sort of dotted around the room. There's a bookcase. It doesn't quite feel like a library, it just feels like a day case with a few books dotted around, but they are very old leather bound kind of volumes. Rather unusually, there's a card table in the room which is set for a 2-player game, and when you look closely at the cards, they're really, really faded, as if they've been kind of exposed to sunlight for many, many years, and yet you notice that the windows themselves are covered by very thick, heavy drapes in this part of the house, so whatever has faded them hasn't been light. And you begin to explore and look around, and there are kind of all sorts of unusual objects around the room. You can see these things that look like globes, but they are like globes within globes, and you're pretty sure you've seen similar things before in kind of astrological exhibitions. But again, when you look around at the room, even though it's quite dark, you're still shining your LED torch around, you start to pick out even more of these kind of symbols that are all around the room. And there seems to be, aside from the cards on the table, a very old notebook that's just lying there as if it's been in use recently.
This all strikes me very much like medieval alchemy. I don't know what was going on here. I didn't see this room when I was last here.
I'd like to have a close look at the bookcase and some of the books.
You didn't come inside this room? You didn't?
Not in this room. I did come into the main hall, obviously through the main door last time I was here, not through a broken window.
Looks no one has been here for a long time.
Yes, well, I haven't. Yes, that's true.
What sort of item were you returning to the owner?
It was nothing spectacular, to be honest. It was a loan object for one of our exhibitions, and the owner had given it to us for the time of the exhibition, which was only a few months. But then I returned it personally because it was very kind of them.
What sort of
So
object?
you work in a museum then?
Yes, I'm a museum curator.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd quite like to have a look at the books.
Okay, well, you go up and
the card table.
what I mean, I know you say the room seems to be in a bad view, and it feels that way. It's a very musty kind of room. That kind of, even though you can't see the dust in the air because there's no light to kind of illuminate it, you can almost feel it as you're breathing. It's a palpable kind of thickness to the air.
It's probably like, well, I mean, I could probably see the particles with my LED light. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go catching them, but when you get to the bookcase, you're all a little bit shocked because you find yourself looking at a lot of books on quantum physics, as well as books on Pythagoras that you think, looking at them, you've got a little bit of background and kind of old stuff that you may wish to share. But when you see them, they catch your eye. You think there may be something of interest to you. Verity here starts to realise that she's looking at what looks like a complete set of books on Pythagoras and all sorts of mathematical stuff, but truly old copies of these texts. I mean, these could be hundreds of years old. And more bizarrely, there are books on there which seem to have no detailing on the spine, and when you open them and look closely, the pages are very, very old, and the language that's in them, you don't even recognise what it is.
I recognise a couple of them as being objects of interest and pop them into my backpack.
What?
So
they don't see.
I think
You should.
I think if you're going to try and break the cardinal rule of urbex, which is not to take anything in the place you're visiting, you're going to have to draw from the tower if you're going to try to essentially steal some of these potentially valuable books.
They're just examining them more closely.
I think you shouldn't take things
In your backpack.
In my backpack, yeah, for later, for examining them
because
later.
we're all gonna be in troubles if they catch us.
I walk over to the drapes and I draw them.
Okay, so
you
pull them back, and so there's still a little bit of light left in the evening sky.
maybe the other way.
Maybe. Sure, you want to really take these books with you?
Yes.
But I might leave them.
Okay, so you'll hold them in your hands,
Yes.
and you recognise what they are. I mean, these books are
Just
worth.
check them here. I can take some pictures for you and send them to you later.
They're worth.
You haven't photographed yet.
Yes.
These
That's
books
a very
are.
Show me that
Yeah,
books
just
you
leave
want
that
to
stuff.
take and
They're very heavy and they're crumbling a little bit. The paper's very, very dry from the atmosphere in this room, but you're pretty convinced that they're probably worth thousands and thousands of pounds. They are incredibly rare.
I just wanted to take them and have a look later just to be sure. And I was going to put
you
them
can
back.
come tomorrow if you want.
But the others are looking at you and giving you a look, and you feel that you if you were to put them in your backpack now, they would realise what your true reputation in urbexing may be. So you put them back on the shelf where they come from.
That seems reasonable.
Game Master, can you place that?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I pull away the curtains.
Okay, so the evening light's kind of in the room. You can see a little bit more clearly what's around you. There is another doorway leading into what presumably must be the corridor that runs through the house. You've got a smaller door leading off into another part of the house. And you estimate from the outside size of the house, there must be a further room at the very end, which is behind that door. You also notice tapestries, beautiful ornate tapestries hanging on the wall, and one of them particularly catches Verity's eye, and she has a moment of almost deja vu, seeing it again on the wall. But on the other wall, where this door now is revealed, there seems to be a kind of patch almost of discoloured wood, as if there's been something on top of it for quite some time that has since been removed. So the wood kind of is very, very faded in one part, suggesting that it's been covered up for a period of time, and then it's kind of come down, and then the darker wood that was obscured from the light has kind of been revealed. So we've got this kind of outline of what was possibly there, and it looks like there's been another tapestry at some point on that side of the wall. And indeed, when you look closely at the ground, you can see the kind of tattered remains of what must have been the hanging at that point in the wall, but it's exposed this smaller doorway leading into this room that's hidden out the back of the house. And then you've got the oak door leading in again to the corridor that's just stood there, but you notice that door is slightly ajar.
The one leading into the hall.
Before we leave this room, I just want to have a quick look at the card table, see if there's any drawers.
There was a notebook there. which was of interest.
Were there any drawers or anything?
You get to the card table. It's a quite traditional card table. You're pretty sure it's an antique. It's going to be worth a lot of money. It's the right kind of people. It has got a couple of drawers around the outside, and you can pull them open, and there's various things in there, kind of paraphernalia to do with gaming. There's even a snuff case in there, probably silver. You're not quite sure. You can't quite see the kind of the hallmark in this light. You look at the tabletop. The cards are incredibly old. They're very beautiful, but again, they have replaced almost all of the suits in the decks with what appear to be horological symbols and the alchemical symbols that Verity has spotted on the walls. So the cards don't seem to be any game that you recognise. The notebook that's alongside them is open to what appears to be some kind of constellation chart, and there's various kind of notes being written in the margin, but again, the language is like nothing you've seen before.
Okay, I'm going to share that information with the.
Steve, tell us about this. Do you know what's this?
I have no idea what this is, I'm afraid. I was wondering if there was anyone around here who might have seen anything that might help us decipher any of this.
I'm sorry, I'm actually more focused on the tapestry at the moment, so I can't really help you because I'm not interested in books. I just those tapestries really caught my eye.
I was at friends once, and we were playing this board game called Eldritch Horror, and had a bunch of symbols on it, and it looks pretty weird.
Yeah, I mean, when you look closely at some of the symbols on the books, you do see a striking similarity to some of the artwork in that game and some of the things you've seen.
Yeah, I show the book to the others to see if any of them have seen anything like this at all.
Just in like movies and pop culture and stuff like that, it kind of.
I was thinking,
when they summon all kinds of monsters and.
I was wondering if anyone had seen anything like this in the house at all.
In the house?
Yeah.
I've only seen one room since. Well, 2 rooms.
Well, all I saw was something coming out of the shadows in that other room and almost got you by the legs.
Yeah. I think we got enough. We've seen enough. We should just go outside and analyze everything we have seen.
No, it's fine. I think there's plenty more to see.
More to see?
Yeah, don't worry about it. Like, I look at the fireplace to see if there's any sort of tools, prods or anything from the fireplace.
You have a look around and there's again, everything in this house seems to be far more excessively beautiful than it needs to be, and there's a great big wrought iron kind of poker there for a fire that's long since gone, but it's a hefty piece of metal.
Okay, something I can carry around and
you can easily carry it. Yeah.
To pick it up.
Okay, so do you want to add that to your card then?
I thought you were
now carrying an iron
you were
poker.
dead set against taking things.
Why do you want to take it?
Just in case, I don't know.
Maybe he's scared now by what he saw.
We're gonna take it for a moment while we're inside.
No, nobody's scared. What are you saying?
We're gonna take it for defense. We're gonna leave it once we're.
Yeah, I don't want it. Yeah, just for now.
Outside.
Just for now. Don't worry, honey. It's fine.
Defense against what?
Yes, I'm sure that was a perfectly reasonable explanation for whatever you saw in.
Well, I don't know. What if that sort of crazy guy from the pub comes
It's
out?
at this point that you start to notice something unusual. The floors have been creaking this whole time in the house. It's a really old house. That in itself doesn't alarm you, surprise you. But you realise that the floorboards themselves are so warped that there are cracks between some of them. And you start to realise that there is a kind of almost like a distant flickering, like moving underneath them. And it seems to be kind of tracking your movements in the house.
Is that the light that you saw earlier? The window?
Yeah, it looks a bit similar. Yeah.
Okay, you're starting to feel the floor hum again. It's not close, but it's starting to kind of vibrate and making you feel as if like you're in a nightclub. It's that, but the weird thing is, it's silence. It's just that.
When it starts humming, it's probably a sign that we move on.
I pick up the notebook and go towards the back door, the one that was covered by the tapestry, and say, "I think we should go this way."
So you've got you're not going into the corridor. You can have a look in the room at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why do you want the notebook? Just check it now.
I don't know. I can memorize all this stuff. I don't know. It might be interesting. It's a good read. I think we should pick it up for now. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
I disagree with Ken, and I go to the door that's slightly ajar and just try and peek through it.
So you
quietly and stealthily.
The door is kind of it's ajar, but it's kind of wedged, it's stuck. Again, when you look closely, that strange kind of waxy residue stuff is kind of built up on the floor. And you're not sure what the heck it is. It's not wax, that's for sure, but it's this kind of, it almost looks like molten rock that's kind of settled in place. But when you look closely, you're pretty sure that it's not as solid as rock, but it's giving off that strange sulphurous smell that you had earlier, and you're a little bit reluctant to touch it at this stage.
Okay, looking at the tapestries, I've not been in this room before, so
Despite your deja vu.
Of the symbols, yes, well, there's symbols that I've seen before, but not in this room.
That for some reason you don't tell us about.
No, it was probably during my studies. I remember I went to a lecture once about Mayan mathematics and another one about alchemy. There was something, they just seem familiar, but it's been a long while. But now that I've seen what I've looked at, I would actually like to join Mr. Ivey and go through that door, because I would like to see the other side of this wall.
Okay, you're pretty sure that with your combined weight you could probably push that door open, but you're worried about the noise it might make. You think that you might be able to figure out a way to kind of cut away some of that material so you could open it more quietly, but you're going to have to pull from the tower to do that.
And there's a sense of urgency since the floor is vibrating, so maybe...
It's still quite distant at the moment, but you feel that it's getting closer.
I'm like, what are you doing? Just let's go this way. Come on.
You could split up and go separate ways at this stage if you want to cover more ground more quickly.
If you're gonna go, just go fast. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Verity's kind of pushing against the door. She can almost do it, but you're going to have to contribute your body weight to get the door open.
And please be aware.
Tried that one earlier.
So you're leaning against the door with all your might, and eventually this kind of stuff, whilst it seems almost kind of like hardened rock or something, or even like a waxy kind of residue, once you push your body weight against it, it just dissolves to ash and it's gone. It's bizarre. You know nothing that has that kind of properties to it, but it just dissolves. And what you're left with is this kind of faint smell that reminds you of something you smelled before, and it's that kind of chemical smell that you had when you were a child, when you were kind of going through school in science laboratories. It has that kind of mercurial kind of chemical stink to it, and it's kind of lingering in the air, and you're a little bit worried it might be kind of poisonous vapours, but the door's now open and you're in this kind of long corridor that stretches out, but again there's a wall of this stuff kind of blocking one end of the corridor leading to the door, but you have exposed access way up to the first floor. There's a stairwell leading upwards, and it's a fairly narrow staircase, so you don't think it is the main one. It may well be the servants' kind of stairwell, but you've now got access to the upstairs part of the house, and there's another door kind of hidden next to it, which again may be the servants' access to a lower part of the house.
So is this now the main hall?
This is the main kind of corridor, but you're in like the servants' kind of corridor, the kind of the back end of it.
So not where the main entrance door.
No, you can see that this kind of part of the corridor leads into that main corridor. It's kind of all runs alongside it and feeds into the main part of the house. But this bit that you're in, you can't see the main corridor properly because this kind of strange kind of substance is blocking the whole thing. And what's weird about it is it doesn't seem to have kind of dripped down into the house. It seems to have oozed upwards from the floor.
It is a big house.
It's a mansion. It's like like Belton House or something.
Yes.
How many floors above ground level does the house have?
You can't be certain, but when
we were outside,
you were outside, you estimate that there's one first floor and possibly an attic crawlway as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in favour of going up the stairs.
Well, at the moment, you guys are now in the corridor. These guys were standing outside the other door in the dining room. That vibrating is now getting more vigorous. The floor is starting to tremble again, and you're pretty sure whatever it was in the other room is coming back.
We should go with them. Stay all together.
The door's open now. You can just come with us.
Yep, we found the stairs up.
Okay, fine. Let's stick together.
Okay.
Let's stay together.
Yeah.
So you leave that door and you go off into the corridor, and just as you do so, you catch sight of the fireplace again as you kind of cross the room, and you can see, you're not 100% certain, but it looks like a face leaning and peering down through it and looking at you, and whatever it is seems to lock eyes with you, but when you look, it's not really a face, it's almost like a photographic negative. It's a blurred mass, but you can just about make out what looks like the features of a human face staring right back at you.
Are you going to share that with us, or are you keeping it to yourself?
So we walk past where we're
You've seen this thing as you've kind of gone through the corridor. You didn't really want to stay there and dwell on it. The vibrating is still kind of there, but it's sort of steadied a little bit now. It almost kind of feels like, for want of a better way of putting it, breathing.
Okay, so we walk out there and we join them in the hallway, and I say to you guys, like, there's something weird going on here. That room was vibrating again, and it's almost as if there was somebody there in the fireplace looking at me. I'm not sure. It's kind of weird in here. I mean, yeah, I'm not usually like
Scared?
frightened by stuff, but this is kind of it feels dangerous.
Okay, you're starting to hear some stranger
I think-
noises now. The humming
I think
is
you're
kind of
right.
rising up, but the vibrating's back, but also this sounds like a metallic scraping noise. It's not like anything you've heard before, but it almost feels as if the house itself is kind of pulsing. It's like the bricks are moving slightly. There's just something going on, and it's getting closer to you, and it's coming into the room behind you, and you kind of get this vague sensation of heat coming with it as well.
I'm going to stealthily run up the stairs.
Okay, so you've now made your way up, bravely abandoning your colleagues,
Very brave.
and you find yourself on a kind of a long L-shaped corridor with many doors adjoining it, which presumably lead off to bedrooms of various descriptions. The carpet, you notice, is again really beautiful, richly detailed. There's kind of now the beginnings of moonlight streaming in through the windows at the end. Very thick leaded windows, so this distorts the light. It picks up lots of the motes hanging in the air, and you notice paintings, or what look like pictures. You'd almost say they're portraits, but when you look closely you realise they're not really of people, they're of what look like mathematical scenes. There's numbers in them, there's kind of drawings and diagrams in them, and the one that catches your eye, that seems to occur as a motif several times, is of a man that looks like kind of the Greek atlas holding the earth above him, but when you look closely he's holding a series of metallic rings, each one inscribed with various numbers and symbols. You know, you remind you a little bit of the kind of thing from Game of Thrones, the kind of spinning symbol, but it's something very strange, and it recurs in many of these pictures.
Okay, well, I whistle down the stairs for these guys to come up.
Yeah, I say like, okay, let's get up there. Get upstairs. There's something coming. We've got to get out of here. Go upstairs. And I kind of like follow them, looking back with my LED in one hand and the iron bar in the other, trying to like sort of fend off whatever might be sort of coming after us.
Did you take the notebook?
Yes, I have the notebook.
Yeah, so you're kind of rushing up the stairwell, and you've got the torch in one hand, but because it's quite a narrow beam, it's really designed for a bike rather than as a general torch. The light's kind of scattering everywhere, so you're kind of just ahead of the girls, so they can't quite see properly what they're doing. So if you're going to pause and kind of give them some more time to kind of catch up with you, you can have to pull from the tower, or you can just go on ahead and let them draw from the tower to catch up with you in the dark.
I'll draw.
Okay, so you pause, you stand there directing the light down so they can see, they're kind of calling out to you, kind of wanting help. They come rushing up past you, but the light now is kind of going straight down into the stairwell, and you're waiting for them to pass you.
Yes. I am following you close to you. And I am recording everything, so we can
Still photographing.
because I don't trust the situation, and yeah, it's more that I was than I was expecting for the night, because I was expecting
The vibration is getting
wild
it's
things
now
and adventure,
to go
but
along
not
that way.
Has
so
to.
scary.
Has to. The vibration is now most definitely in the corridor downstairs. It's following you. and you can feel it kind of. And again, it's more the warmth that's surprising you. It's something new, and that sulphuric kind of smell. And what's now bizarre is you'll sort of see this kind of what looks like a phosphorus kind of flashing light kind of popping around downstairs, and you get occasional kind of glimpses of the ground around at the bottom of the stairwell, which is definitely not coming from your torch. It's something else generating its own light down there, and it's coming your way.
Well, whenever they come up to the top of the stairs, I'm going to direct them to the picture that I noticed stuff in to see if any of them notice anything about it.
The picture?
You're pausing to take in art.
Why not?
Seriously?
Have a look at this.
Okay, well, you're under duress now because something is coming your way. So if you're going to take time to kind of stop and contemplate one of these pictures, you're going to have to draw from the tower.
Well, I'm not contemplating it. I'm inviting them to contemplate it.
Well, it feels like something's behind us.
You can start to hear the stairwell now creaking, and it's most definitely something with mass is making its way up the stairs.
This is ridiculous. I can't even see a person or anything. But I feel like if you've taken something from that room and since then something's been coming after you, maybe you should just drop the notebook.
Do you think it's the notebook?
I think you're only putting everyone in danger. Now, maybe you should just leave it.
Your girlfriend can take some pictures.
Quickly photograph it.
You're kind of hang out in the corridor, and now you're picking up on something else, a different sound. It's coming from one of the rooms, and you're not quite sure what it is, but it seems to be someone going, "Hello, is someone there?"
Oh my god.
And is that on the corridor of the second floor?
This is from one of the rooms, kind of not far from you. The door's slightly open, but the voice is panicking, but you can hear from inside the room. It's calling out.
Behind the door.
It's behind the door.
I run up to it and kick the door down. Or kick it open.
That's subtle. Okay.
So the door kind of flies off its hinges. It comes right off and rips from the wall and slams.
Wow.
And now, in the kind of the flash of your LED torch, you pick up on what looks like a boy who maybe 19, maybe 20, hiding under a four-poster bed, and he looks very, very pale. There's a vague stench around him as if he's been in this room for quite some time and has probably soiled himself in the process, and he looks absolutely terrified. He doesn't look pleased to see you, oddly, as if you might think he was waiting to be rescued, but if anything, he looks really, really scared that you're here.
Let's talk to him.
I shine the LED on him and I scream at him, "Who are you? What are you doing here? What's going on in here?"
Just get under the bed, quickly!
What is coming up the stairs?
There's more of you? You're gonna have to find somewhere to hide, but do it quick!
Why?
It's coming! You haven't got time, just get under the bed!
Tell him we just got lost on here.
Can't you hear it? It's coming! Quick! You've got to be quiet. You can't believe you kicked the door down. It's gonna find us. Get under the bed!
I don't want to get under the bed with him. Let's just go up.
I'm going to open the door into a different room.
Okay, so you're trying the handle, but it's got that strange kind of gooey kind of wetness to it, so you're not quite sure. Your hands are kind of sliding over it. This thing now is on the top stairwell, and when you look, it kind of looks like the outline of a figure, but it's almost as if you're seeing the beginnings of something, as if someone's kind of like moving in and out of focus, almost like there's a translucency to it, and it's there, and it's just stood watching you right now, and it's kind of, you can see the outline of his head is contemplating you, but that smell, the sulfuric smell, and the kind of the heat that's with it, but now you're starting to see the kind of the outline of this thing starting to shimmer, and you realise that this phosphorus kind of flash is coming from this thing, and it's looking right at you.
I'm going to go and try another door.
Okay, so if you're going to try and force your way into one of these rooms, you're going to have to pull from the tower, because this thing is now very, very almost gracefully just walking towards you, and as you realise the floor's kind of humming and vibrating with every step.
What's Verity and Charlotte doing while I'm doing this?
Well, is that
they're kind of they're a bit behind you now, just waiting and looking and not sure what to do.
Is it a dead end corridor?
Well, you can't see because it sweeps around in the L shape, so there's more to it, but you realise that there will be a dead end at some point.
But where am I in the room?
You're at the moment staring at this young kid under the bed.
But where is that in relation to them, in the location?
You kind of just gone a little bit on ahead of them. They're just behind you outside in the corridor. They're looking at Stu, trying feverishly with his door handle, trying to find any that will open.
So I'm ahead of him.
You're like a couple rooms down, inside, looking at this kid who's panicking like nothing now. You've never seen such fear before. I mean, you've done dangerous stuff. This is something else. He's desperate, right? And this thing, you can't see it. These guys can see it. The girls are just kind of transfixed. They're staring right at it as well, while Stu's kind of trying the door.
Maybe we should.
Okay.
Out the door.
I suggest maybe we should.
It clicks,
listen to
it
you.
opens, and you got what looks like the master bedroom to the house. There's a huge four-poster bed in this one, and this incredible glossy black, ebony black cabinet with kind of gold trim around it, and there even seems to be some cases in the room with like, almost like display cabinets with various kind of objects inside them.
Okay, I'm probably going to have a look at those later, but right now I'm going to hide under that bed.
Okay, well you dive underneath bravely, and you're now hiding in the bed while the girls are outside in the corridor.
I crouch by the door frame inside of the room and sort of look out and to see what is going on and hiss at them and say, "Get over here."
Okay.
I'm following Stu into that room and hide behind the
So
door.
you split up now, so Charlotte's kind of gone in with you, you kind of grabbed her arm, pulled her inside, you've dived into this room, you don't know where Stu is, you're looking around and
I'm
wondering
hiding
what's happened
behind
to
the
her. So you're stood behind the doorway, you just about see what looks like the glint of some sunglasses underneath the bed, but you're still not quite sure he's wearing them since it's now quite late at night. But he's under there, you can see his distinctive bobble hat and sunglasses under the bed. But there is a kind of an eerie silence for a moment, as if the vibration has subsided temporarily. You can't feel anything, but it's just like it's almost like this pregnant pause in the air. Everything's kind of just deadly still, but you don't feel safe. You feel that something else is going to happen. Right. Meanwhile, in the room you guys are stood in, you're kind of crouching behind the door. You know, Charlotte's kind of looking around, not sure what the hell's going on, and now you see this kid under the bed, and he's now really freaking out. This bed's not big enough for all of you to get under, and there's not really any obvious other place for you guys to hide. What are you doing? You're gonna have to hide somewhere quickly. He'll come back in a minute.
I reach under the bed, I pull him out,
What are you doing? Get off me! Get off me!
and I shake him.
You're going to have to pull from the tap.
I shake him.
He's holding onto the bed. He won't budge. If you want to drag him out to make room for you and Charlotte, you're going to have to pull from the tap.
No, it's not. I just want to get information out of him, and I say,
You just got to look. We haven't got time to talk.
What
Get
is
under
that?
here.
What is that?
There's not time. Just get under. You're going to have to find somewhere else. I don't know what you're doing in here. You're going to have to find somewhere else to hide.
Yes, I'm trying to tell you to go and let's hide, all of us. Let's go inside the bed, under the bed.
I shine my
I'm
light
trying to
around.
convince you.
I shine my light around the room to see if there are any other doors.
So the light kind of passes round, and your hand. Everyone can see it now. You're brave most of the time, but your hand is shaking. And as it kind of passes the corner of the room, it picks up the kind of shimmering outline of this thing again. And it's now inside the room, and it's just looking at you. And then it's gone. It just vanishes. And then the next thing you know, you feel that the floorboard's vibrating again. And this time the young boy is kind of looking at you from underneath the floorboard. He shoots backwards under the bed and just vanishes.
I shine my light under the bed. He's not there.
There's nothing there.
Then we just go, let's go.
And is it still?
Let's go hide somewhere.
The bed might be
The vibration has gone, the kind of shimmering thing's gone, there's a notable change in the atmosphere, kind of the room's quietened again, there's a stillness about that you can feel, but it could almost feel like an old stately home. But obviously things are very, very seriously wrong.
Okay, are there any windows in the room?
Yeah, there's windows looking out into the courtyard area.
In the courtyard area. Yeah. I smash the window. So,
Well, you can.
Charlotte, I think we should get out of here. Something's weird going on.
Yes,
I just
let's
want to
go.
go
Try,
out.
because these are thick leaden windows. These are not easy things to break. So if you're going to do that, are you going to use your?
I've got my iron rod.
Okay, you're clearly going to be attracting a lot of attention doing that. So if you're going to do that, you're going to have to make 2 pulls from the tower.
Okay.
But you're on the first floor, remember? You're not on the... You're
Yeah,
not
fine. We're
downstairs.
climbers. We can get out of here. It's fine.
Yes,
We'll
let's
make
go
it, yeah.
outside.
Yourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, let's run out of here.
No, I'm.
You're not sure how much time you've got before this thing comes back again. It knows you're in this room. It knows
we
you're
go for
both there. It's taken this boy. You're not sure what else is going to happen.
While they're doing that and it's gone quiet, I want to have a look at the display cabinets when he's finished.
Well,
I'm just looking out the door and seeing down the corridor if it's gone or not, and where the others are.
you find what looks like a chess set, but when you inspect it closely, you realise that this has been kind of whittled from wood, and the pieces are not obviously a chess game. You don't quite recognise the game that it depicts, but when you look closely at the images, you recognise a passing familiarity, rather jarringly, to the king, or what might be the king piece in the white team, and you feel like you're looking at some kind of replica of your own image.
That's spooky.
Yeah. I don't like it in here.
Are you feeling royal?
Is that the only thing I find in there?
Well, if you want to look more closely, now, one thing I should say is that at any point someone can deliberately topple the tower to make a heroic sacrifice and kill themselves to save others.
I'm sure someone might want to do that.
You want to go now?
Right, so the only thing I
So I
said...
broke in the window?
Anyway, you've broken the window, you've kind of smashed up the lead, you've made a big enough space that you're pretty sure that with a bit of bravery you could probably pat Charlotte down, hold her by her hands. It's a long drop, she'll probably injure herself, but you're pretty sure it won't be life-threatening. You can get her out that way. You're not sure that there's anything... The walls... And luckily in other parts of the house there's ivy and other things growing at the sides that you possibly could use to hold on to and climb down. But here the walls are perfectly smooth and you're unsure in the dark, without any kind of climbing gear, whether you're going to be able to find a way down without injuring yourself in the descent.
Okay.
What do you think? Maybe we could run the stairs down. Run downstairs.
Yeah, smash the window and then run downstairs.
Yes.
Alright.
Because there's no way.
Okay, at this point
To
you can
climb down.
hear from deep within the kind of the bowels of the house what sounds like screaming. It's a terrifying kind of guttural scream, and you recognise the timbre of the voice. It's most definitely the boy that was taken from the room, and it's screaming.
Let's look for a rope or something we can use. A blanket, something.
Yeah,
We go down.
that's a good idea.
Curtains, let's use the
Yeah,
curtains.
let's take the curtains down and tie a rope.
Okay, you're just about to kind of try and do that, and when you realise there's something behind the bottom part of the drape, and it looks like, rather jarringly, a HD video camera. And you realise that this must have been in the possession of the boy before what happened, right? It's just lying there on the floor, perhaps it rolled under there in his scuffle to get under the bed, but it's just sat there on the floor.
Well, being in a hurry, I don't turn it on to see what's recorded on it, but I do take it as evidence of what has gone on there. Does it look at like it was recording or anything? Or is it on? Or is it...
If there was, the camera's been running for some time. It's dead. You've got a little bit of experience. You're pretty sure that you could probably figure a way to use a cable to hook up your LED torch into this thing to get the power on long enough to have a look at what might be on there.
Okay, I do that.
Yes.
So are you climbing out first, or are you doing that now?
I do that now.
Okay, so you get.
I stay preparing all the climbing things.
You have a rummage.
Okay.
You've got a day pack with you, and you start rummaging through there. You find the kind of charging cables, and you realise that if you kind of do a few things with the polarity of this thing, you can hook this thing into the back of the camera. So essentially, turn your torch battery into a backup battery for this camcorder. And so you fire it up. It takes a few minutes to load, and you realise that you've seen this kid before. He's been on YouTube loads. He's another urbexer. And you're pretty sure you recognise him. Okay, the video's choppy and it's uncut because it's not been processed, it's not been edited in any way, so it's very kind of choppy and messy. But it's clearly he's been there a few days earlier. The weather's much different. It's brighter, it's a sunny day. It hasn't been sunny since last weekend, so it must be he's been there for a few days in this house. And it's just him documenting his travels, but one thing you notice is that he also found the hole in the fireplace and climbed through. The difference is he went into the other room at the end that you guys chose to ignore, and he's been kind of taking footage of what looked like a whole array of various kind of games of various description. There are boxes of cards, there's an ornate chess set, there's a backgammon board that's sat on one side of the table. There's even what looks like a set of what you think might be poker chips. You're not entirely sure, but they're incredibly old and ornate, and you're pretty sure there's some sparkling on there. Might be jewels of some kind, but this room seems to be very much the den of someone who's heavily invested in gambling, and there's other kind of snapshots of it. There's, you can see this kid was just randomly taking images. There's footage from what looks like a kitchen. Okay, so we're back from our break, and you've just been looking at the camcorder of this kind of kid's footage to see what he was up to in the house, and you realise that he's not been noticing some of the stuff that you can now see. He's obviously been kind of so obsessed with what he was looking at, so kind of bewitched almost by these objects he's been kind of inspecting, that he's failed to see the kind of the telltale shimmering things going on in the background. And you realise now that there's not just one of these kind of outlines, there's indeed three in at least a couple of these clips. So there's more than one of this thing, whatever it is, inside the house.
I decide that the room I'm in is a complete bust, so I'm going to wander across to see what they're doing.
Okay, so you go and join them in the room, and you find at the moment, they're kind of huddled around the camcorder and the glow of the screen. Dani's balancing your character Ken is balancing the camera very carefully, so they keep the wires connected so they can keep the power on while they're looking. And you can make out parts of the house, but you're particularly drawn to this bit of the clip that you see of the games room and this incredibly rare looking poker set and the backgammon and board and various other things, and you realise that there's some very valuable items that are back downstairs in the house, and it probably would be worth at this stage refreshing your knowledge of your win conditions for this game.
Do we know where?
Have a look at your cards.
No.
Yeah. It's,
do we know where the video was taken?
It's in the house, various rooms in the house, but the games room, if you want to call it that, clearly adjoins the dining room area. You went from the dining room to the drawing room, the two doors, you went into the corridor, and that room where the tapestry was kind of draped over it, the one that gave you a sense of deja vu, you realise that must be where the owner of the house stored the backgammon board, and indeed the footage seems to confirm it, because you can see that is most definitely the same board that was in your museum all those months back.
What did you say about win conditions?
Yeah, so you've all got, based on the character questionnaires that you created, you've all got your own personal motivations for being in this house. Survival is obviously the most important thing, but there's also kind of, if you like, secondary things that you're all trying to achieve as an explorer, or indeed for your own personal and potentially not so noble goals.
I say to Ken and Charlotte that the window, going out the window, just looks too risky.
Yeah, it's very high up.
There's just more to see in this house.
Well, my card says
if we're going to do
take
this,
risks at all opportunities.
If we're going to do this urbexing,
out the window.
if we're going to do this urbexing thing properly, I think we should go downstairs and have another look.
This isn't urbexing anymore. This is
it's still urbex.
This is Ghostbusters.
We've seen a few odd things, but it's still urbexing. So
It seems to be quiet now, so maybe we can go downstairs and.
Yeah.
Are you feeling really safe?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm fine. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment in the house, it's eerily still. It generally feels like an ordinary house. The screaming's stopped. Everything's still. You can begin to hear the kind of sounds of owls out through now freshly ventilated window, and even the rain has kind of abated a bit. It's just gentle kind of patters. You can hear the sounds. It feels quite relaxed and calm at the moment.
I mean, I'm going to suggest to Verity as well that we go and have a look downstairs. There's just more to see.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
You don't have to kind of go with him. You can freely split up and do your own thing if you wish.
I think I'm trying with the curtains, and I think it's too risky to jump down here. Let's just go to the main door and leave through there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's the sensible way.
Let's go to the.
You're going to jump out the window.
It seems like are you a treasure hunter or a thief? Is that what is?
No, I'm an urban explorer. I just want to see more of the house. I think it's probably worth me just sharing with you at this point what happened to me in Leeds. I had a bit of an experience there when I was exploring a library. In fact, the Virgin Mary came to me, and since then I've become really very religious.
That sounds rich.
I did. If I'm going to be honest with you, in that games room I noticed one or two religious artifacts, and I would just very much like to go down and have a close look at them before we leave. I'd very much like you all just to join me in that.
What
as well.
kind of religion?
It's just Christianity. It was the Virgin Mary, so Christianity seemed to be the sensible one to go for. And maybe if you see them with me, you might share that experience. And as I did see the light.
But that's not something I'm exactly after. I'm not into the whole religious scene.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, it would just mean a lot to me if you were to share the moment with me.
But surely you've seen all the artifacts on that video. Are you not intrigued? I will join you.
Thank you. That would mean a lot.
Can I just get you guys to move in a little bit more to the table just to make sure that
I have some kind of interest to see if it's real. I want to know if it's real.
I'm happy to walk down the stairs if we can make it down the stairs, and if it continues to be safe in the house, we'll see. But yeah, I'm more inclined to keep you safe, Charlotte, and at the first sign of danger, I think we're going to fight our way out of here.
Well, perhaps we could just take a moment and say a little prayer for the success of our endeavour and our safety, if that would be okay.
If it can be quick.
Yes, it will be just a very quick moment. Just silent prayer.
So are you all praying?
Very quiet.
He's praying.
Okay, so you're holding hands in this room.
Very quiet.
You're kind of feeling a bit awkward about this. You're not religious. You're kind of you're kind of balancing the remains of a video camera in one hand while sort of holding hands with everyone else, and it's like, and you're pretty sure one of them's starting to hum "Kumbaya." It's just like a really weird moment given what's going on recently.
That's fine.
And
I only needed a moment.
but
I want to keep Stu on my team.
But there's that stillness in the house is kind of, there's something else coming. It feels like almost like the change of air pressure you get when you're in a plane. You can feel ears kind of starting to feel like they're going to pop or something, and your hearing's getting slightly muffled, and you're pretty sure you can start to smell that kind of weird sulphurous smell again emanating from somewhere in the house.
Right, shall we go then?
Let's go.
It's probably
Let's
worth
go.
going very quietly downstairs.
Okay, downstairs.
Okay, so you tiptoe back down. The way down is nowhere near as fraught as the way up was. It's kind of deserted and quiet. You've still got the rather big problem, this kind of mass of that kind of weird kind of substance at the end. It gives off a kind of metallic kind of glow in the light from your LED torch, which now incidentally is only down to probably about 20% battery, having now jerry-rigged it to the back of a camcorder. But nevertheless, you've still got some light from it, and you wonder if it's got the same qualities as the stuff that was blocking the dining room door, and whether if you hit it or something, it might just disintegrate.
Is it blocking the door to the games room?
It's not blocking the door to the games room. It's just blocking the kind of the corridor itself. So if you wanted to get to the main door or rooms beyond it, you're going to have to kind of smash it.
So we can't get to the games room.
You can go back the way you came into the games room. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'd suggest we go and have a look there first before we worry too much about that.
Again?
Yeah.
Well, now that we've seen the video.
No, I think I'd like to try and smash that down so we have a clear way out, and just in case, if you don't mind.
Or other things have a clear way in.
Could we perhaps wait for a little while before we take such a reckless course of action?
This might just draw attention again.
You're kind of
we have a
all
way out at the moment through the fireplace.
Yeah.
You're all congregating around the kind of the bottom of the stairs, kind of having this hushed conversation. You're very much aware that there's something in the house, possibly more than one thing, if that footage you saw on the camera is to be trusted. And as you're kind of talking, Ken kind of leans back against the wall, more out of frustration than anything else, because you're normally so used to kind of taking the lead on things. You're not happy about having someone else kind of offering suggestions, but as you lean back, you realise that you're leaning against another doorway, and the door is kind of very much open. It kind of starts to give under your weight, and you realise that you've got the stairway going down into a deeper part of the house.
I'm going to suggest we just ignore that for now.
I agree. I want to go outside.
Sorry, so there's now a doorway instead.
To the basement.
Well, you realise it was there the whole time, but you kind of forgot about it, and this door kind of descends to the deeper part of the house, and you're beginning to wonder what happened to that kid.
Yeah, I'm growing tired of indecision, so I'm going to head towards the games room.
Okay, so you go back through the kind of the other rooms in the house, and you kind of find your way back to the wall. It's much harder to see where you're going now because of the darkness.
Well, I still have my phone, and I can take it out.
Yeah, so your phones are now kind of out. You're using them. Yours is completely drained because you've been taking too many pictures. So you've got a lovely collection, but your phone's it's now blinking. The kind of battery warning lights going on. You're not sure how much longer you've got left. So you might even want to turn it off to conserve what little battery's left. You've got a little bit left on yours. Your phone, frankly, I don't know what century it belongs to, but it hasn't got much. There's no real glow from yours. You have a little bit like one of those old Nokia phones with that kind of very pale LED green kind of glow, but the frequency is so low you can
and Ken has
very barely see. Well, his LED light is now kind of running low. He's been using it the whole time because Stu arrived so late in the day. You've been using that for a good couple of hours now.
Yes.
So it's not clear how much more you've got out of that. You've noticed you use that light all the time as a backup on your bike when you're doing your couriering around town, and you notice that the quality of it's kind of already diminishing. So you know that it's starting to lose its charge. So.
Right, I'm still heading towards where.
Yeah. So you're at the door of the games room. You're kind of waiting for the others. You're not sure what they're doing. You're kind of deciding whether to persevere and go on into the room alone.
I'm not going to wait very long. If I'm honest.
Okay, so you open up the door, and it gives easily. It's not locked, and you're confronted by a room that is nowhere near as big as the previous two. It's nowhere near as big as what you consider to be the drawing room or the dining room you initially came through in, but you are looking at a room that is still a considerably big size compared to, say, a regular house, and almost everywhere you look it's like an Aladdin's cave of various games, but these are things you've never seen before. There's very obviously things like chess set and there's a backgammon board, but the age of them you can't tell. I mean, these games go back thousands of years, and you have this rather unsettling feeling that you may be very well looking at one of the original sets. It's kind of crudely cut, very, very beautiful, but it's clearly been made by hand from some obscure stone-like material and inlaid with some kind of precious stones that you don't recognise. You look around, there's also the remains of what looks like a 1920s kind of casino table, and various kind of decks of playing cards, and there are some very old leather tomes on various kinds of gambling, and as you kind of look around the room, you notice that there is what looks like a photograph just lying on a table at the side, and when you go up and look closely at it, you realise it's a picture of you, and it's a picture of you at one of your poker tournaments, one that you won. It's like a newspaper cutting that's been taken from a picture, and this cutting has kind of been scratched at and cut into by something, and you can sense that the paper itself has been screwed up before. When you look, you realise it's a kind of a group photograph. You're kind of prominent in the kind of like bank of images because you won. You remember winning this tournament. Must be the late 1980s. You can barely remember the game. You played that many. But when you look closely at this image, you realise that there are several opponents that you played in this tournament. It's kind of group shot from the beginning of the tournament. And one of the faces you kind of look and you recognise, and you realise you've seen that face in one of the pictures in the house. And you realise that you've played poker against this man at some point in the past.
So you've been here before, or you have a collection?
I haven't been here before, no, but we clearly played in several tournaments together at some point.
The previous owner?
I'm suggesting he probably doesn't like me very much. Which I'm fine with, to be honest.
So you knew who the owner was from this place?
If we're assuming he is the owner, we don't know. Well, he was in one of the...
you remember the name of the man who you played against. I mean, it comes back to you as you're looking at him. You kind of work, because you know the personalities in poker, and there's only, at the level that you play at, there's only really a handful of names that have the kind of money to kind of pay the stakes at the table. And until recently, you were one of those names. Now you fall on slightly harder times. But you look at it and you're pretty sure that the man in the picture is a man called something Armstrong, and it comes back to you that this guy is Alexander Armstrong, and you know at the time that you were playing against someone with a considerable amount of money and wealth, and you were, let's just say at that time, starting to dabble in alternative methods of poker play that led to some pretty big wins. But you remember something about this guy at the time kind of was out of the ordinary. but nevertheless you won the games against him. But you kind of, even looking at the photograph here, I mean, even though it's faded old newspaper cutting, you had this uncomfortable sense of him looking right out of the picture, right into your own eyes.
I turn the picture over so I can't see him.
Okay, so now you're just kind of surrounded by all these kind of, you know, ornate artifacts of gambling.
This backgammon board is the one that I brought back to the house when I was last here.
Oh yes.
Okay. What's so special about it?
Why did he give that to you?
Its age, mainly. Well, we had this exhibition on at my museum, and he agreed to lend it to us for free because we had an exhibition about gaming for the ages with many artifacts related to the topic of gaming and table gaming. And
I'm going to suggest that we just have a good look around the room, if that's okay.
Yes.
You go ahead, but I'd sort of like to go downstairs. I'm a little bit concerned about that guy we saw.
On your own?
Good luck.
No, we should all
And
go
the
together.
I'm
I think-
actually
You're not worried about the
okay.
kids?
No, not really.
Okay.
Are you sure you
He's that
actually
guy
saw
from YouTube,
someone?
you know? Yeah, he's that guy from YouTube. And he was, you know, this is his camera.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, can't you see him in the images?
I
The
can
camera?
see it,
Yeah. He was here.
I'm just not
He got-
worried about it.
And what happened to him exactly? I wasn't in the room.
I don't know. It's
That's-
like that thing was in the room with us, and suddenly it kind of like disappeared, and the young guy, got sort of pulled into the shadows underneath the bed, and that was that. And then like the next thing we know, it sort of like stopped. Yeah, everything stopped, and then we could hear him screaming.
Okay, at this point, as you're talking and kind of coming to things, you hear a loud slam, as if a heavy door is being closed forcefully somewhere else in the house. And you hear what sounds like rapid footsteps running across the ceiling above you.
While they're distracted by that, I'm going to put that focus set into my rucksack.
It's the big room, but it's not that big. You're going to have to pull from the tower if you really want to steal it.
That's...
Okay, so while everyone else is kind of like just looking up at the ceiling and they're kind of, their faces are kind of very, very pale now, you look up with them, but in the corner of your eye you just very quietly just slide the set into your bag, and the noise and the vibration hides the sound of the pieces jangling as they fall into the pockets.
Lovely.
Lovely. Next.
Still in the house.
Do we see it or not?
There's a sound coming around, and
Yes.
but the thing that's starting to kind of upset you is that you're starting to hear what sounds like a child laughing. It's kind of like a deep reverberant kind of laugh that's running around the house, as if there are children playing above you.
That makes me want to leave more.
So if
Let's
you want to all head towards the stairs leading down to have a look.
Yeah, let's go there. I'm kind of really curious
right
about what's
behind
down there and what what might have happened to that guy.
I agree with Charlotte. It's time to leave. Are we close to the room that had the fireplace in it?
You're literally just adjacent to it, so you could, if you wanted to, I'm sure you could, make your way back through there if you wanted.
I would suggest, Charlotte, if you're looking to leave at this point, I'll escort you out.
Yes, but I'm not gonna leave.
Okay.
Charlotte, we're just going to take a look and then take a look downstairs and then come back.
You're
What
kind
do
of,
you want to look for downstairs?
Okay.
Well, that
What
guy.
are you?
That guy, obviously.
while you're debating what to do, you now hear another door slam, and this time you realise that somehow, whatever it is kind of opened that jammed door in the other room, and it's now opening and slamming it, and then opening it and slamming it. It's almost as if it knows you're in the adjacent room and it's trying to scare you.
Okay, I need to make my move now. So I grab that backgammon game and put it in my...
What are you doing?
It's clearly looting season here in the house. If you're going to take the board as well, then you're going to need to pull from the
Didn't
tower.
he take it?
He took into kind of the really
I was
old
tempted to take the
poker
backgammon board
chips.
as well, to be honest with you.
And I'm asking, why did you return it and now you want to take it?
So you've now both broken the kind of the cardinal law of urbex, which is not to take anything with you.
longer there. So there's.
So these doors that are slamming, are they in the room? Of the fireplace?
The fireplace is like a massive. Clearly, the chimney runs up the kind of the full centre of the house and services two of the adjacent rooms. So you could have gone back through. Now you're not quite so sure you want to go through into the room where the door's opening and closing of its own accord. You worried that whatever happened to that young boy may well happen to you if you poke your head through. But if you want to go and have a look, by all means, feel free.
Are there any windows in the games room?
No, they're kind of the games room. I mean, there are, but they're kind of narrow. Even if you could force them open, there's probably no way you could climb through them. Your best bet now is to either return back to the kind of the drawing room and make your way out there, or indeed persevere by going back through the house, or indeed make your way back upstairs and try your escape through the upstairs window that you've already opened.
We don't have much light batteries, so
almost time. I don't want to stay here any longer than.
You're all realising now that the light that's coming from Ken's torch is getting smaller. That kind of wide beam it had before is getting narrower and narrower. It's kind of getting more yellowy light, whereas before it was a bright white light. And you're realising that it's going to be a matter of minutes now before you're all plunged into darkness.
Well, then there's no point in going downstairs if we can't even see our own way. So can we just leave the house now?
I think we need to try and get out.
I'm starting to search around to see if there's any sort of matches, candles, anything, lanterns.
Well, you've still got a little bit of light, and you realise that perhaps possible source of some of the scorch marks you've seen is that there are actually what look like small oil lanterns which have been lining the walls. So clearly this house doesn't have electricity, but there are other options in terms of lighting available.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there anything like a tinderbox or something like that?
Not immediately you can see. I'm sure if you were to kind of scavenge around the room, you might be able to find something, but to search that level, you're going to have to pull from the tower.
yes, try to grab one, and in case we run out of light.
While this is going on, the door stops slamming,
You can also
but
do
you
the
can
other.
now hear what seems to be breathing coming from the fireplace and deep, and it's almost as if it's projecting its breathing. It wants you to hear that it's there. It knows you're in the games room, and it wants you to know that you're being watched. So you kind of find that the lantern has some kind of, it looks like some kind of inbuilt mechanism that you can kind of pull a little lever and it generates a spark, and within minutes you've created this kind of you've never seen anything quite like it. Verity thinks she's seen lanterns like this before. She thinks it might be Victorian, but you realise it's an oil lamp. It kind of has a self kind of lighting mechanism, and now you've got a relatively stable light source. It doesn't put anywhere near as many lumens out as you're used to with your LED torch, but you've got something durable, and it casts about a couple metres range away in terms of the light. So you're all kind of huddled around this thing at the moment, watching as the last bits of the LED torch finally choke and give out, and now you've got maybe 2 metres of light. And just that kind of sense of like a black curtain of darkness kind of starting to encroach around you.
Shit.
So what have we got as routes out of this room? Then back into the room with the fireplace, and is there another exit as well?
Yeah, there's back into the hallway, the servants' hallway, and then there's the stairs leading down. Yeah, and then or try and smash through that secretion type.
Yeah, I mean that dissipated as soon as we put any kind of pressure against it. So I mean, you could always give it a try with your poker.
Could, but now that we have some light, we can head downstairs.
You're not entirely sure if it's a good idea to stand discussing your options, because this
That
thing
thing's
that's
breathing
and watching you, and it's starting to kind of give this throaty noise that could almost be a laugh. You're not sure.
That's in the drawing room.
Yeah.
It's watching you from the fireplace. It's in the other room. It's not in the same room as you, but it's starting
It's
to
getting
chuckle at
scary.
you.
I think we need to move.
I'm starting to feel like a little annoyed by the whole
And then,
situation.
as you're kind of looking at you hear it start to kind of take shape, and it looks at you. This thing, you sense it. It's almost like a different kind of shade amongst the shadows, a darker space within it, and you hear it kind of cackling and laughing, and then it just says, "Mr. Ivey, so nice to see you."
Oh, it's him! And I run out of the house.
I said, "What's up?"
You thought that you were going to get away with that game, Mr. Ivey. I've been waiting to see you for a long time. And I'm glad you're finally here to finish that game. But we're going to play according to my rules.
And what are your rules?
You'll find out soon.
Can we?
You can tell
the
me now if
others,
you like.
can we leave?
Yes, can we please go into the hallway?
Miss Sachs, you're here too. I'm delighted to see that the backgammon set had its intended effect.
Mr. Armstrong?
I've been known by many names over the years. That is just one of a great many.
Step out of the shadows.
It's gone.
It's gone.
But the vibrating now is everywhere in the room. The whole thing's shaking. Even the ceiling, there's kind of dust motes falling. You can see it in the kind of the light of the kind of the yellowish light coming from your lantern. The dust motes are falling. The footsteps have gone, but the vibration is now the whole room is shaking, as if you feel it's going to take off and move.
This is freaky. What did you get us into? What is this crap?
I have no idea. I've never seen this guy before in my life.
Look, I'm done talking. I'm grabbing my
Let's go.
rucksack.
Let's go.
I want to run out.
Yeah, let's go and get through the fireplace and get out that way.
You know where this thing is.
I thought it had stopped.
Well, it might still be in there.
Right. Let's not go that way then.
Let's go into the hallway. Surely the
Hallway,
hallway.
Go back.
We'll lead
Yeah, we
to
go
the
back
main
to the
door.
hallway. I lead the way with my lantern, and clutching the iron bar at the poker in my other
You're
hand.
you're kind of leading the way with the light, and you have this. Your arms outstretched to try and cast the light as far ahead as you, while the others kind of all huddle around you, just to feel the body warmth and the kind of surety that everyone's still there. And as you're holding it, you feel a very icy kind of touch system that grabs your hand, and then the voice kind of leans in very close to your ear and just says, "I think I will take my notebook back from you as well."
Give it to him. Give him the notebook.
It's gone.
Yes, give
It's
him
kind of
the
icy
notebook.
touch. It's just kind of left this kind of searing,
Everyone
tingling
leave
sensation on your
everything
arm.
and let's go.
I
Or just run.
pull the notebook out, and I start burning it with flame.
As you do that, there is this deep,
You die.
booming, screaming sound that seems to be coming from the bowels of the house itself. And before you know what's going on, it's snatched from your hand and it's hovering there in the air ahead of you on fire. And the light that's coming off this thing as it burns, literally hovering in the air and scattering these kind of embers all around you, you see maybe 15, maybe 16 of these shimmering outlines standing ahead of you, and they're all
I
watching you.
whack at them with the bar.
Oh my god, I want to get away from this guy. He's mad.
As you're like swiping out with a bar, you're not quite sure. They kind of seem to kind of recoil back slightly, but you're not sure if you should persevere with the attack. If you're going to try and push past them, you're going to have to draw from the tower.
Are we by the stairs at this point?
You're at the stairs that lead down, or the stairs that lead up. But these things are kind of amassed in front of that weird material. In fact, when you look at the kind of the qualities of the kind of the light, how it hits them, you realise that they may very well be made of the very same material.
And has the noises from upstairs stopped?
There's nothing else other than these kind of shimmering outlines and the kind of disembodied voices that seem to be kind of
I'm
moving
heading
around
upstairs.
you.
Window upstairs.
Yeah, I'm heading upstairs.
Right. Let's run upstairs.
Yeah, I'm running upstairs to the smashed window.
Are you running downstairs?
You're leaving the circle of light now, and it's dark. There, even though this is a relatively good conditioned house, there are going to be things like ruffles in the rugs and things that you might trip over. So if you're going to try and head upstairs on your own without waiting for the others, you're going to have to pull from the tower.
I thought Verity was coming with me as
Yes.
Then you both have to
Are
pull
we
because
running away?
only Ken's got this torch at the moment.
Or we've got these creatures.
They're not
In front of
attacking
us.
you; they're just in front of you,
They're just
watching
trying
you.
to block the way.
Yes.
So it looks like Stu is making a run for it, once again demonstrating his characteristic bravery.
Or realizing that they have recoiled,
One hand.
And the other one's just pointing.
I grab Charlotte and we head downstairs.
Oh no, he's taking
Downstairs?
So you,
Yeah.
Charlotte's.
We're
you,
gonna get trapped downstairs.
you notice that Charlotte's trembling quite violently. You're not quite sure why, but you've noticed that since the torchlight's been starting to diminish, and since you've been kind of hovering around this kind of yellow light from the lantern, that she's becoming more notably upset and scared.
We
She's
don't
starting
have
to
much
tremble.
light, and we're gonna be trapped downstairs.
I think I made it upstairs.
You're fumbling around in the dark now upstairs.
It's okay,
You've
there's
got a very good memory, so you're using that memory now almost like a blind person might to kind of
we'll find a way out, don't worry. We'll find a way
From
out.
downstairs?
Yeah. This is a big house, we'll find a way out, don't worry. Ooh.
manage to grab hold of part of his jacket on the way up.
Don't touch the table.
You're using him almost like a guide now. He's fumbling around and you're kind of swiping at it, trying to get her off because you're starting to panic a little bit, and you're not used to having people rely on you. You prefer to work on your own, and you just want to get the hell out of here now. But she's kind of clinging on to you, and you're kind of muttering things at him in kind of an angry kind of voice, saying, "I paid you for this," as if he's kind of letting you down. And so you kind of find your way back upstairs, but you realise that you're not sure which room was the one. The doors are all slammed shut. You realise that some of those noises you heard earlier weren't just from next door. They were clearly some of the doors upstairs slamming shut, and you have no idea which one was the rooms you were in earlier on. You're just confronted now with an inky dark well of a corridor and no idea where to go.
I think at this point I might let them see what happens to them.
Meanwhile, you guys are...
I start praying. I am praying and shaking.
You guys are in what looks to be like a...
So we've gone downstairs.
Yeah, you're at the foot of the stairwell, and you're looking into a kind of a vaulted kind of room. Big stone arches everywhere, and you realise that all the way down this room seems to kind of stretch quite far into the kind of the land. Seems to be a series of kind of what look like wine cellar kind of casks and things, but on closer examination you realise that these bottles don't contain wine. You're not sure what the heck they are, but there seem to be a variety of chemicals and compounds and mixtures, and there's a pungent smell, the same smell of that kind of sulphurous kind of egg stink that you detected earlier on. There are bottles of things that are marked up with symbols that you vaguely recognise from your science lessons when you were a kid, and you're pretty sure you can detect what looks to be kind of mercury in one or two of the bottles as well.
This must be explosive. We are in danger. We should leave this room. Let's go upstairs. There's no other way to go outside. Only one way.
I'm sure there is. There'll be a way out. There'll be a way out. Let's keep going. Don't worry about it, honey. We'll find a way out.
While you're deciding what to do, you can hear the stairs going behind you, and realise that some, maybe all of those things that were upstairs are now following you down. And they're on the stairwell descending, and the footsteps are kind of, you realise some of them, and again the kind of the laughter, and you realise that the kind of the childish laughter, it's them, this group that are on the stairs, and they're coming down now en masse. And you realise that even if you wanted to go back up, it would be very dangerous for you to do so. So you've got not much choice now other than to push on ahead into this kind of chamber and see what you can find.
We forge ahead. I held the lantern up to see what else we can find.
Okay, so you're holding up, you can detect a kind of smell of, it might be something like a gassy kind of substance in the air. You're not quite sure. And you realise as you're holding the lantern up, you realise this is the only room in the house where you haven't seen any of those lanterns, and you're beginning to feel there may be a reason for that. So
I turn the light out.
Oh no!
So you've got a choice. You can turn the light out and persevere using your sense of touch, or you can pull from the tower and hope that you can keep it far enough away from the bottles to make your way safely through to the end of this chamber.
We're gonna be in the dark. You cannot do that. There's no light.
Yeah, but we can feel our way around. We can feel...
Let's turn and hit him.
You want to attack them?
Yes, I want to attack them and leave. They are following us, so let's attack them. No one is going to see that.
Oh my god.
I think we can beat them. We can't beat them.
Yes, we can beat.
Let's draw back 6 from the table.
Let's go back. We beat them. I'm going to take that
They
stick.
have a fire poker.
And you use your
My what?
They're getting closer now. They've reached the bottom of the stairs, and they're kind of fanning out now into a line. And it's almost like they're taking the time to form a rank, and they're now pressing down very steadily towards you. And they're laughing. They know you're there. It's almost like they're bullying you and taunting you, and they're whispering and chanting and saying all sorts of creepy things in a language you have no idea what it is. But they're getting nearer and nearer, and you can sense as well this strange sensation of what might be heat. It doesn't seem to be having any effect on the materials around you, but you can pick it up. It's almost like static energy on your arms.
So we're gonna hide and
That guy.
No, let's
Keep
go.
them.
We gotta get out of here. This isn't... We gotta get out
in
of
the
here.
dark.
Yes, run. No, just run. Just run.
Run once.
Okay, so you just if you're going to charge blindly to the end of the corridor to get away, then you
start running.
pull from the tower.
You're gonna pull from the tower.
No, I can't.
That one's stuck.
Any layer except the top one is legitimate. Yeah.
No.
Okay, so because you're devoted to Shah, you grab a hand and you just run. You're used to danger. You've been in, you've tried scuba diving in dark water and things like that. So you're not afraid of the dark itself. You go charging blindly to the end of this corridor. You drop the lantern in the process, and the glass of it shatters on the ground, and you just see the flame of this thing kind of seems to circle a little bit in the air, and then you just see it kind of pulse as it catches onto something else in the air, and you realise that it's like a trail that's heading towards the racks of bottles, and it's kind of all now starting to catch fire, and the whole thing just goes woof, and it's now burning steadily. And you realise that as this flame kind of rises up the side of the cabinets, it's illuminating the entire chamber brilliantly for you. You can see everything very, very clearly. There's a doorway at the end, not very far from where you are now, but you're now concerned because there are great big caskets above the top parts of this rack, and you fear that there may be more chemicals inside those.
Charge ahead, just run, get to the door,
Anyway.
get to the door.
There's no
quick as
other
possible.
way. Yes.
Yeah,
Let's continue running. It's close.
we head for the door.
Okay, so you're now in a tunnel, a much older thing. The architecture has changed visibly, notably, and if you had to hazard a guess, you'd almost say it's now medieval. The kind of Tudor buildings given way to something far more ancient. You realise there's an entire different structure underneath this house, and there's a series of tunnels that descend deeper into this darkness. But the further down the tunnel you go, the less light you get from the kind of the room behind you. And so, as you feel the walls, there's kind of dank, slimy kind of, it's almost like moss or goo or some kind of algae, and you realise this thing is really kind of almost like a subterranean network. It might even be a cave system, and if you're going to go down, it's in pitch darkness now.
So there's still enough light to sort of scout around and see. Is the light behind us, is the fire, is it sort of
I'm
still...
gonna turn on my
It's still
phone. I
burning.
think I saved some battery.
So you've got like 15% battery left. It might give you a
Yes.
minute of torchlight if that, if
Yes.
you're lucky. You're pretty sure that if you don't move soon, you're going to be caught in some kind of explosion. So you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. You feel the need to press on, or hope that the chemicals, whilst flammable, aren't explosive.
I start feeling sort of with my hand the wall, and following the wall with my hand, kind of like moving as quickly as possible away from the possible explosion.
I am taking you from your back.
Yeah.
So you've got your eyes kind of jammed tightly closed.
Yes.
It makes no sense because it just means you're in even deeper darkness. But you think for a second, if you can't see anything, it can't see you, and you're just holding
Yes.
on.
And I
as
just keep my mind busy.
As you get
singing.
further and further in, you something strange happens. Your hands kind of start to go kind of tingly and numb, and you can still feel that you're holding onto someone's hands. You're just not entirely convinced that they're Ken's hands anymore. And after a while, you realise that these hands seem to be kind of evaporating, and you've got this kind of powdery residue all over your fingers. It feels like ash almost.
Then I
And you're
scream.
standing alone in the dark. Meanwhile, you're somewhere else in this chamber, and
Oh,
there are things pushing you. You're not quite sure what's going on at the moment, but there's kind of like hands kind of reaching out and touching parts of your body, and that deep laughter is starting again. And you're not sure. Your torchlight is still there. You're back down to 5% now, but you're so filled with fright. You've got your eyes jammed shut. You can just see kind of the faint light from the phone, and you think you could use it if you could get it from her, but she's kind of locked tight now in fear.
I have the stick I grabbed in the other room and I start just.
There's nothing there. It's just you've got your eyes closed, you're whirling around, there's nothing
and I
there.
don't feel anything.
I say, Charlotte, come here, come over here. Charlotte, over here, and walk towards her.
Okay, so you're gonna stumble through the dark to try and get to her. You're gonna have to draw.
You save me. Oh.
So you kind of, you're just so focused on her that you just don't, you almost kind of bounce off the rocks that are underneath your feet and the loose ground around you, and you grab hold of her, and in the process you kind of stumble and lose your footing, but you kind of roll and you realise that you've kind of found the wall of this, whatever it is, whether it's a cave or a tunnel, and you kind of fumble along it until eventually you find, rather incongruously, another oak door. It doesn't kind of feel like it belongs there. Everything else is rock. It's most definitely a cave system rather than a tunnel. But you can also feel any kind of change in the moisture in the air. It almost reminds you of those days you spent windsurfing at the beach when the kind of storm's coming in, and you realise that you're now getting very close to some kind of subterranean water source. Meanwhile, back above ground.
Yes. So we may have to make a decision which door to open.
We could try different doors.
Yes. Okay.
I think we try different doors.
So you're kind of like trying the handles, and they're not locked exactly. It almost feels like something on the other side is holding them closed.
What about if I go around where the L shape is, further down?
Yeah. So you're kind of probing in the darkness here. You're in a little bit of a better position because there is now a very strong source of moonlight coming in through the window, so you can see well enough to get round the corridor without having to pull. So you make your way down there, and you realise that there are kind of open areas towards the end of the L shape, almost as if there's a sort of what might be something like a priest hole in the wall. This kind of like carved in stone chamber, and you think possibly you could hide in there. You're not sure whether you should kind of retreat into it for a moment, or whether you should press on and try and find some way of getting out.
So there's no windows around us apart from in the rooms?
There's windows at the very end of the L shape and the very far end of the corridor, so there are windows there.
Can we not try and get out there, out of the window? You can climb, can't you?
I can probably climb, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, I should be able to climb.
So you kind of start trying to pry open these windows, but these are lead windows that have been there for many, many years, and the elements have just been left to kind of rust into place, and you're going to have to try and find some way of forcing them open.
I've got a penknife. Is that any use?
Well, you kind of jam it in, and you start trying to prise open the mortar around the thing, and it gives relatively easily. So you jam it in there, and the window just pops and falls, and you just hear it drop. And it takes what feels like, you can't be more than a second or two, but it just seems like it takes an age, and it shatters on the ground outside.
Can we see out of the window?
It's pitch black out there, other than you got some little bit of moonlight, but you realise it's the shape of the house is blocking the stream of light, so you can't see what's down there now.
It seems like a good idea to go out of that window, particularly. But with all the...
I need to go. I need to get out now. I'm so scared.
Yeah, you've got your backgammon set there.
I'm just wondering. I mean, if those light sources have followed them down into the basement, we could go back downstairs at this point.
They may have followed you.
We have essentially
They
acted
may
as
have
the
followed
bait.
them, but I'm still here, Mr. Ivey.
Your old friend.
Oh, good old Alex.
You and I still have a game to play. I'm not done with you yet.
Okay, you know what? You stay and play the game.
Miss Sachs, I'm afraid this game requires more than one opponent.
Tell me more about the game, Alexander Armstrong.
It's an ancient game. It requires some astrological knowledge.
And explain to me what happens if I lose and if I win.
I'm afraid that's almost irrelevant, Mr. Ivey.
Why is that irrelevant?
Because I need you for something far bigger than just this game.
Okay. Might not be a way out.
Amigo.
I mean, at this point, you're kind of looking at that window, peering out, and you realise that stuff you were touching on the door handles earlier on, it's still on your hands. You thought it was just your own sweat from panicking, but you realise that kind of tingling sensation, and when you look down at your hands, they're almost translucent, they're shimmering, and you realise that kind of glow. It's on your own hands, and it's on your arm, and it's gradually kind of seeping up towards your shoulders, and it kind of starts to consume to the point where you can feel your arm, you just can't see your arm. It's definitely there. You still feel like you can hold things, manipulate things, but it's almost as if it's been amputated.
Oh my god, you're becoming one of
Yeah, it sounds that way, doesn't it? Well, at least I've got a light source now. I can use my arms as a light source.
It's kind of, it shimmers in the moonlight and catches, but it's not generating much of a light source itself. But the kind of the thing that you felt was watching you earlier, it's back, and somehow you feel that this is not Armstrong, it's something else, and it's watching you, and it's got a sense of mass and heat, and its eyes are locked onto you, and it's coming, almost as if it's hovering and moving down the corridor. And you can feel the kind of presence of a man behind you, like you're being watched, a very slight figure, and that you presume must be Armstrong. You can't see him until the moonlight kind of passes through the window as the kind of clouds break, and you realise that he is there. He's been there the whole time. He's just watching you, and the kind of moonlight catches the outline of his arms and their facial features, and you realise that it's almost like he's made out of glass. And then when you look down yourself, you realise that you are also starting to turn that same translucent quality.
Okay, this isn't good then. I ask him what's happening to me.
The inevitable, Mr. Ivy. The inevitable. If you cheat at the game with me, there are far bigger prices to pay than just your stake. I represent, let's just say, a party who has far bigger plans than simple money. And if you cheat him through cheating me, he will want to take a far bigger debt than just your useless bits of paper.
Okay, I panic.
Yes, I'm panicking at this point.
And I try to run toward the stairs.
Yeah, I'm not far now.
So you're going to have to kind of push through this thing if you're going to go that way.
Okay.
It's big, but it feels nebulous. It doesn't feel like it's got presence and mass, but it's not taken a shape yet.
I'm holding my rucksack out in
So you're
front of me.
going to barge through like a shield. So you're going to have to draw from the tower if you're going to make your way through it.
I'm going to bravely follow.
No, you have to stay and play the game.
Remember, you can deliberately knock down the tower as a heroic sacrifice if you wanted to save
I feel
someone.
heroic at the moment.
Mr. Ivy, that sounds like a...
We all had what we wanted. We all want to leave now.
Yeah, I've had enough adventures.
Oh, he's falling off the chair!
Oh, cat producer is slightly easier.
No, it's so...
Miss Sachs, where are you going? I
Cats
thought I
always fall the
said
right
that you were
way.
going to come with us. Mr. Ivy and I need a third player. You can't run, Miss Sachs. This house is only so big. And I know it better than you.
I need this board for my museum!
Oh my god.
Scary.
I'm pushing.
Okay, so you're not quite sure how it works, but you kind of trip and stumble and by pure fluke kind of almost roll past this thing or underneath it, but as you're kind of tumbling across the carpet, you can feel it. It has that deep sulphurous kind of stink about it. It's almost kind of breathing on you as you pass underneath it, and as you're kind of going under, your body kind of just clips through it ever so slightly, and you can see inside it. And when your head passes into it, you realise you're looking at something far, far more unexpected. You're looking into a landscape, but one that you've never seen before. Kind of, it has a deep yellow sky, castles that kind of range across the kind of the horizon. There are plants and fauna and things and all sorts of stuff there, but it's of a completely different species than anything you've recognised before. And yet the whole of this image looks almost like someone's painted it. It doesn't look real to you, and you realise that what you're seeing isn't actually a creature, it's some kind of doorway into something. And just for a briefest a moment, you kind of clip through it and see into this place, and it fills you with a sense of panic and terror because you realise you're looking at something like an abyss, and you roll out from underneath it, but afterwards it feels like you've been experiencing vertigo or something, so you're disorientated and panicking, and then you kind of arrive at the top of the stairs, dizzy and feeling like you've just been, falling from a great distance, even though all you've done is rolled across a carpet.
Oh, I didn't roll down the stairs.
No, you're at the top of the stairs shaking, but you feel like you've just plummeted a great distance, even though you haven't.
Okay.
And you've got these lasting images of this place you've just seen in the burns at the back of your eyes. Mr. Ivey, I'm glad that you're still here.
I'm going to go back to this nice priest hole and spend some time in there, I think.
Please take a seat. I'm not sure why you think you can hide from me when you're stood right in front of me. So this Armstrong kind of puts his arms out now around you, as if he's going to hug you, but it's not an embrace, it's something else. And if you're going to try and get away, you're going to have to try and make a couple of pulls in the tower to duck past this thing. But you feel that it's going to get hold of you, almost like it's kind of controlling you and locking you in place.
Yeah.
While this thing is advancing down the corridor, hovering and vibrating and pulsing, getting nearer and nearer.
I fancy trying to get away from this if I can. So I'll break my neck.
Well, you break an arm, you're still. Your arm's.
It took a good couple of seconds for the window to fall.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Another one. Let's just fetch that out.
Next one.
So I hope you're gonna run away.
Oh my god. Wow.
Well done.
It might be your inherent luck as a poker player, but you manage to kind of wrestle free from his grasp, and you're now kind of running headlong, and you don't know what to do. This thing's opening up, and now it's kind of shimmering, it's taking form, and you realise that you're looking into what looks like some kind of portal, and you realise if you keep running at your current speed, you're going to run straight into this place. Or you can try and duck into one of the side rooms before that happens.
Do I notice anything about the portal? What's on the other side?
You see essentially what Verity saw earlier, that you're looking at this seemingly medieval landscape. Yet it's not medieval. These castles look new. They look like they're being lived in and used. The skies is kind of pulsating, pustulous yellow colour, and you think you can make out the shapes of kind of what look like robed figures moving around on the battlements of these places.
I think I might try and duck into one of the side rooms.
I was going to say, I'll take a trip to Carcosa and see what's up.
Oh my god,
You're going to have to pull from the tower if you're going to do that. You've put yourself into grave danger.
Good job.
You have the luck of the devil himself, and you, as you kind of get nearer to this thing, you manage to kind of just, by pure chance, catch your shoulder against the door, and it kind of crashes open, and you realise that this door leads you into a room which has a doorway between separating two rooms, and you simply kind of go around it, making almost like a oxbow lake, and you kind of go skirting around it, and you're going headlong down the stairs. You can hear Verity sobbing in the stairwell below. She thinks something's happened to you. It might just be the effect of this kind of vertigo experience she's just had a moment ago. But you collide with her, and you both go kind of tumbling down the stairs in a great big heap, and you're both a bit bruised and battered, but you get up at the bottom, and you're just there in the dark, and you can hear the vibrations and the humming from the stairs above as this thing's passing around, the laughter as well. And you realise it's not laughter at all, it's screaming. It's this angry, bitter, screaming noise that's coming up, and then the footsteps sound like running, and it's coming your way.
Let's just run downstairs.
Something.
We need to get out quick.
Yes.
Anyway, meanwhile, you guys are kind of at this door. You're not sure what to do. You've got no more light source.
Yes, we do. I pull out my phone, which I've been saving all along.
Okay,
We
so
keep walking.
you have your mobile phone. You kind of power it. You realise, okay, the signal's no good, but you switch on the torch function, and you realise that the whole room that you were in before is quite far away now. It's almost like a small speck of light. You can't believe how deep this room must be. This thing must be at least 500-600 meters long, and you can see the burn of the lights quite glowing, and you are pretty sure that an explosion is probably quite imminent. And you're stood by this doorway. As far as you're concerned, whilst your phone gives out a little bit of light, you can't see far enough into this chamber to realise if there's any other conceivable way out.
Yeah, that's a secret tunnel, so there's going to be an exit.
Yeah, you go through the door, close the door behind us, in case there's an explosion. Shine my light around the phone. Where are we at?
Continue running.
Okay,
around.
so you open the door. I mean, it gets easily. It's not locked or anything. I don't think anyone who owns this house ever expected anyone would be down here. And when you get in there, you realise you're in what looks like some kind of laboratory. And yet there's nothing like anything you've seen before. The equipment here must be thousands of years old. There are vials and chemicals. There are books and manuscripts all over the place, but there's a musty kind of stench in the air, like old parchment rotting in the damp. And there are all manner of kind of scales and equipment radar on one wall. And you realise that there are huge paintings in this room, murals almost, and star charts and alignment charts, and some kind of parchment on which there's been scribbled various information and names, and you find on there the name Verity Sachs and Stu Ivey, their birth dates, astrological signs, and you see this constellation star chart, and you realise that they are both mapped onto this diagram, and the constellations and everything align on this particular date in about 20 minutes time.
What?
Charlotte, what do you make of this?
We are gonna.
I think we should burn it.
Yes, let's stop it. We're gonna stop.
Yeah, there's something working here, something in the works. It looks like I feel
We're
like
gonna
there's
try to reverse.
I feel like
this.
there's a clock counting down.
Let's reverse it. Let's break it.
Smash stuff. While you're kind of talking away, something really strange, and you see that kind of blurring, weird, vibrating, humming light effect again, and then rather bizarrely, a hand just appears, just a disembodied hand, and it kind of rummages around, and it picks up something off the table, and it disappears again along with the item. It's gone.
I go after it and look to see if I can sort of follow where it's gone and shine.
It's vanished. It's picked up a piece of parchment and gone, as if it's kind of rummaging around the desk and it's trying to find something that's disappeared.
Okay, is there anything else on the desk that might be interesting?
You don't really have the expertise to work out what you're looking at. You've seen documentaries on TV shows. You realise you're looking at some kind of alchemy lab, but you're not entirely
I
sure what it is.
snatch the parchment with their names on it. Take it. I'm looking for a source of light, something, a torch, another lantern, and also a way out.
Well, you're a pretty resourceful kind of guy. I'm sure that you could probably take one of these jars of chemicals. You've seen how flammable they are, and you think in a more controlled state you could probably take one of these bits apart and jam it in there and perhaps find a way of lighting it if you can look around and see what might be of use.
Okay, what about a way out of the room?
The laboratory seems to be a large chamber, and at the back of it there are a couple of doors, in fact. One that seems to kind of lead even to like a slight slope downwards as if it's heading down, and you can hear the sound of what seems to be running water or a dripping noise from that door. The other one, you're not sure where that leads.
Okay.
I suggest to continue moving.
Dripping water.
Yeah, I think we should follow the underground stream, and that'll probably let us.
Or we stay or we go.
We're gonna find a way out that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna follow it. Let's follow it. Yes.
Okay, prepare a makeshift sort of lantern thing. Put it in my backpack.
You still need to find a way to light it.
Yeah. Is there anything in the room?
There are various chemicals. You have no knowledge of that kind of stuff. You're not sure what will happen if you mix them, what the dangers might be.
Okay, forget about that, and we go through the door where there's a sound of water.
You're not quite sure how it is you can see in this room.
Well, we've got the phone.
There's something else going on in this room.
Something shimmering.
There seems to be some kind of shimmering. That strange shimmering effect you've seen before, whatever produces that effect seems to be in this room as well. You're pretty sure that if you looked around you could probably figure that out.
Okay, look around and see.
The walls themselves seem to be kind of lined with this kind of goop, for want of a better way of putting it. It shimmers, it has its own kind of translucent effect. It seems to give off a light source of its own. It's not part of the cave or the chamber itself. It seems to be something that's been blasted almost all over it, perhaps by some kind of accident or by a series of experiments. You're not entirely sure which, and yet it does seem to have its own kind of glowing, kind of translucent quality. Whatever surface it touches takes on a slightly translucent quality, but it shimmers and gives off a phosphorus kind of glow. And you realise that the light you've been seeing this whole time in the house through the floorboards may very well have been the same stuff.
What do you think that is?
Is it glowing?
Yeah, it kind of glows a little bit in the darkness.
It means light.
I mean, you're probably feeling quite happy about it. You know, it's low, but it's like that kind of the same kind of light level you got for those glow in the dark toys. It's not enough to see very well, but it's better than pitch black.
So it's not enough to like illuminate our way through the dark.
You could use it to find, it'd probably give you about half a metre of kind of in front of you, better than nothing at all.
We have
Is
to
something
go.
that we can sort of put in a jar, for example, or
If you wanted to do that.
Let's go towards the light.
but the light, it's kind of all around us. It's in the room. It's in the room we're at.
They're this way. They're down here. You can hear the footsteps up at the top of the chamber and the sound of what you think may very well be a voice you recognise from earlier.
This means there's another way to come here.
Well, they're coming the way we came, right? So
No, because there was
You two stand by the door.
I don't think so. It was burning.
Have you found them? I think so. I think they're in here.
okay, let's go. Let's go.
We have to keep moving.
Yeah, keep moving.
Yes, and if we face them, we're gonna fight.
You could photograph them.
I'm not sure of your names, people, but you are clearly the guests of Miss Sachs and Mr. Ivey, who are indisposed at the moment. I would like to invite you to join me for a drink.
Oh, we're fine. We're fine, thank you. It's our time to go. We're so sorry.
Go and get them. So they respond to your voice and your comments, and now they hear the footsteps coming closer to the room. There's a whole group of something outside this door, and they're preparing to come in now.
Is that the door we came?
The door into the
from?
cave, yeah.
Okay. Alright, so
You've
go
got
towards the
two,
door.
You've got these two other doors at the back. The one that seems to slope downwards, and the one that just goes straight ahead.
Yeah, we'll go down. The one that goes downwards that had the stream. Yeah, I sort of trust my instinct and follow the
Yes,
the
I don't
water.
think they want to get wet.
You open the door easily. I mean, it's rotten through. It's almost crumbles away at your touch, and you realise that there is indeed an underground stream, and it seems to kind of run slightly off, and then there's a brilliant source of light streaking down ahead of you, and you're not quite sure what you're looking at, but it takes a while for your eyes to adjust, and you realise that you're clearly in the kind of the stream that feeds the well, and ahead of you is the moonlight striking down the shaft of the well. Quickly, they're in there. Get them.
Okay, we
Go.
go in the stream and sort
Let's
of
go.
try and sort of get in the current
Yes.
and let it sort of carry us
Yes.
towards the well.
It's icy cold. I mean, you're in there for only a few seconds and you're completely numb from the waist down. But the kind of the adrenaline now surging through you, and it keeps you kind of going until you get to the very end. And now you're looking up. You can see the kind of the part of the well bucket and the rope that suspends it above you. It's still out of reach, and the kind of the walls of the well itself are incredibly oily and slimy. There's no obvious way of climbing up out of it at the moment. But you can now hear the footsteps and the patter, and they're not even running anymore, they're walking, they know where you are, and they're just taking their time. And you can hear Armstrong is now stopped in the laboratory, and he's clearly preparing something, and he's taking his time. He's whistling to himself and seems to almost be enjoying it now. And you can hear him kind of laughing quietly. Be careful with them, I will need them in one piece.
Do you still have that parchment? Did you take it?
I took it. It's probably wet and crumpled right now. Okay, does the underground sort of stream, does it continue past the well?
It does, but it kind of goes into some kind of grate, and it's too small for you. I mean, this is a very tiny thing. It's just a rivulet that feeds the well, really. It's deep where you are because someone's hollowed out the ground in order to, allow
What
the
do we
bucket
do?
to go in there.
We try to climb, or we fight?
We could try and climb
We
out.
could try to climb.
We could try.
Yes.
Is
You are
it?
climbers.
Yes.
Yeah, you're both trained climbers,
Yes.
so it's quite feasible that
We're gonna
you
put-
should be able to find handholds that other people would normally find.
Yeah, we're gonna put our bags together, and then each one is gonna hold to one side, and we're gonna push.
The issue is though,
Against the
whilst because this is clearly a situation in adversity, and because your legs are numb, even your normal climbing experience hasn't prepared you for this. You're going to have to make a pull from the tower to climb out.
Yes, we're gonna do this like.
One of you could probably, if you think that if one of you stays in the water and pushes the other, that person could reach the rope that attaches to the bucket and could actually climb the rope out. But that would mean one of you remains behind to give the other the leg up.
We're gonna do this like put our backs together and just
No, I'll
push each other.
I'll hold you up so you can get the rope, and then you can throw the rope down to me once you're outside.
Is it so long? The rope?
At the moment, it's kind of coiled around the top of the well, so if you got up, you'd have to climb up and then you'd have to winch it back down to him.
Okay, you go up. So I crouch down so Charlotte can stand on my shoulders and hoist her up.
Yes. I climbed really fast.
So she's kind of, the rope's still quite wet from the rain earlier, so she slides every now and then, but she eventually makes it out to the top.
Yes.
But you realise now that these things that are there at the bottom are simply watching you, and you know damn well that it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to climb out. You can't reach the rope where you are now, and even if you do climb, it would take very little for them to try and grab hold of you. You've still got your backpack and your stuff on you. You're not sure what to do.
I take out the parchment and sort of threaten to rip it. Show them the parchment and say, "Come near and I'll rip this to shreds."
Well, I don't think that they're that bothered by the parchment.
They are, okay.
They're looking at you blankly.
Where I
In
am-
fact, you sense these things in the moonlight. They've taken a sort of more shape, more form. They might conventionally be called ghosts, but they're clearly not. They've got substance to them. You realise they're kind of translucent, and they're bizarrely almost kind of moving in and out of your focus, as if they're kind of ghosting in and out of the plane of experience that you're living in. And you realise that these things, whatever they are, have no interest whatsoever in that parchment. They all seem to be smiling at you as if you're very naive.
And where do I am? Outside?
You're up at the top now, you've kind of climbed out, you're at the well looking down in, and you're kind of winching this thing feverishly, but it's kind of stuck at the moment. So
I am on the street.
you're at the top of the well, you're outside, you're numb, you've got your hand on the thing, you're trying to push it around as quickly as you can, but this thing's like going down very, very slowly, and already they're already stood around Ken, contemplating him.
I swing at them.
So you're going to have to make a pull from the tower. Either Charlotte's going to try and really put her back into this and pull in order to try and get the winch down, or you're going to have to pull to try and fend off these things.
And I'm gonna tell them, go and catch the others because they're gonna leave while you're here with us, and we are not your main target.
Oh my god, she's gonna.
Selling us down.
We are not stealing anything.
Well, apart from a parchment and a poker and a notebook.
Well, now that I have I feel that I've kept Charlotte safe, that she's out of the caves, I'm going to take a risk and try and find my way back into the laboratory and stop whatever that Mr. Armstrong is doing.
Okay, so
Dramatic.
you take the poker in hand, and you're not sure what these things are, but you realise that whilst they kind of keep kind of glitching in and out of your dimensional space, whilst they're there for a few fleeting seconds, they're most definitely solid and real, even though you can see through them. So you've got this poker gun in hand like a sword now, and you're prepared to just run at them.
What I also do is I take out my Leatherman real quickly and flick out the knife part of it, and sort of in a dual-wielding fashion, go at them with the intention of trying to
make a pull from the tower.
Harm them somehow and make my way back up the stream.
So if you want to try and get back into the stream,
upstairs.
meanwhile Charlotte's still wincing this thing.
No idea you've gone.
I'm calling for help. Help! Maybe someone is gonna listen.
One hand.
One hand.
You can stand if you need.
Yeah, you can. There's no rules, so you can't move around the table. You can get up and change position. That's absolutely fine.
Just come back to the table. It's not very stable.
Well done.
So you kind of charge down this corridor, and you're spearing through these things. And the minute you do, they just turn to that kind of weird ash-like material and disintegrate around you. In fact, they're remarkably weak to the effect of the piercing of this thing. Every now and then, though, the kind of that weird pulsing, glitching thing happens, and you miss one or two of them, and they grab hold of the poker and wrench it out of your hand. You've managed to get past the few of them. You've taken out, you're not sure how many, but you've certainly thinned their numbers, and you're now kind of barging past the ones that remain to get back into the laboratory where Armstrong is currently working at some kind of chemical, and he's mixing it very, very carefully, and he seems remarkably surprised to see you've come barging down the corridor again. He thought you were going to be in their custody by this point, so he's expecting the both of you, and he's outraged again. You were meant to bring both of them! I need 2 people for this!
Is he also like shifting in and out?
He is kind of like translucent almost always. He's kind of got this kind of shimmering, glowing effect, and he's really, really angry. He's kind of panicking as well. You're not quite sure, but you recognise fear, and it's not fear of you, it's fear of something else. He's shaking.
I get at the table and kind of, with the intention of turning over the table and sort of smashing whatever concoction he was making to the floor, messing up whatever he was doing.
Right, so you flip the table over, and all the chemicals go everywhere, and he bizarrely just sinks to the floor and starts sobbing. I cannot stabilise the compound now. This will not work. You've doomed all of us, the entire village. I don't know why I suddenly sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Ken, what have you done?
You're not even there.
At this point, the kind of the smell is so strong, and whilst he's kind of almost sobbing, he looks up and he realises what's happening. And unlike you, he's been able to move around this building unimpeded somehow for a means that you're not clear on. He's not had to move past the storeroom and the cellar, and he realises for the first time that it's on fire. And there's this almighty explosion. The whole foundations of the house are trembling. The cave starts to come down around you, the laboratory as well, and there are bits of there are all these kind of stones and things falling away, and as they do, it starts to expose some kind of bizarre crystalline structure behind that glowing material, and you realise there's something buried in the land itself. You're not quite sure what this thing is, but you start to see kind of fractures, almost like a broken mirror, but rather than reflecting back, you're seeing little glimpses into this other place, this kind of yellow sky, parts of castles and so on, and you realise that he's been working on something for quite some time underground, and yet it's all coming apart around him. And now the foundations of the house are starting to crumble. Meanwhile, back up on the stairs, and you're hiding in the dark, trying to find your way back to this fireplace. You realise the whole house is starting to sink and tremble around you. There are things falling off the walls, panels, the ceiling's coming down, the beams are starting to crack, and you can hear this terrifying booming noise of wood breaking around you. So, we're now with you guys back upstairs in the house.
Time to leave.
The door that was previously blocked by all the stuff.
There are beams coming down around you. You've got seconds to get out of here before it's going to come down and crush you.
I'm running down the stairs.
You've got your backpacks kind of impeding you as well with your poker chips. It's heavier than you thought it would be. Your backgammon board and your backpack. You're still clutching in front of you like some kind of shield, like some kind of inverted turtle, and you're fumbling in the dark. And you can hear the cracks of wood and the dust falling in your face. Your eyes are now getting caked in dust, and you're blinded temporarily. The whole house is coming apart, and worse, you can feel the whole thing is sinking into the ground. There's also a kind of smell that you can't see it, but it's probably smoke, and you realise not only is it collapsing, but the whole structure is now on fire.
Can we still run down the stairs?
Down the stairs.
Can we run up the stairs?
You've made you stumbled. You're now on the ground floor, and
There's an explosion.
the explosion and the fire is reaching up, and the whole house is cracking and shaking
Can we get
around.
to the room with the fireplace in and get through there?
You can try to get through. I mean, you fumble around in the dark, you find the doorway, but there are beams coming down, and if you're going to try and make it through, you see a kind of an opportunity, narrow kind of gap. Part of the wall from outside caves in, and you can see the moonlight streaking in, but there are beams starting to kind of break and crack around you. One of you could probably make a run for it to get through, get out. Maybe both of you.
So what does that mean? We have to pull from the...
One of you could probably escape
I'm
unimpeded.
going to make a run for it.
Oh, thanks.
Why don't you sacrifice yourself for the lady?
You go charging across the room. As you do so, one of the beams kind of comes crashing down and kind of pins your leg, and you're kind of wrestling. You can just about lift part of it up, but it's really heavy. There's no obvious way for you to kind of get the leverage you need to get this thing off you, and you're worried the rest of the house is coming down. You're still kind of cowering in the door frames, protecting you from the falling timbers at the moment. You can see the moonlight, and you can see Stu lying on the ground, and you're just staring at him with contempt at the moment because he just ran for it. Worst of all, you look really pathetic at the moment because you're just clutching your backpack with his poker chips next to you as if that's going to help you in some way.
Well, I'll just step over him.
Are you taking the backpack of poker chips on your way past?
Yes,
I'm resisting that.
So if you're going to try and wrestle the poker chips off him, you're fighting, you're going to have to probably... Well, he's impeded. I mean, with enough time, you could probably get away, but because the building's coming down, you don't have a lot of time. So you can either leave calmly and walk past him and leave him to his fate, or you can try and pull from the tower to get the poker chips and leave, just to add insult to injury.
No, I've got my backgammon board, so I just want to get out there.
I have a surge of adrenaline to try and lift the beam.
Okay, pull from the tower. You have the luck of the devil. You kind of you prise it up and you kind of push it off you, and you're kind of you've badly damaged your leg. You're not quite sure what's wrong. It might be a fracture or a break, but the adrenaline's kind of coursing through you. So even though you're in a lot of pain, you kind of just start clawing your way across the bones and the detritus of the house as it comes down. You reach the window in the moonlight and you look up and you see what looks like the village barman staring down at you.
Oh.
I told you should have gone.
Thanks for the advice. A bit late now.
Bizarrely, he kind of grabs you by the kind of the hair almost, and he pulls out and he grabs hold of the scruff of your neck and just drags you from the house. And he kind of drops you outside and he stands staring at you and looking in shock at the kind of the burning remains of the house that's coming down everywhere. The ground is now starting to kind of cave in around you. You're still not safe. And he starts dragging you very slowly away. He's not going to be able to do it on his own.
Well, at that point, I guess Charlotte is with them because she was a little...
She's outside by the
Verity.
window. She's just sort of you can dumbfounded. She knows what caused the fire, but she
I'm
doesn't know what's
hiding,
happened.
waiting for you.
She's just in shock. She's debating whether she should go charging back into the burning fire to try and find you. She's unsure what to do. And then she sees, Verity strolling bizarrely, quite gracefully and calmly out the burning remains of the house. And you realise that she's walked past Stu, just left in there in burning house, just as if to die, just glances him on the way out. So she's looking at horror at the callousness of her actions, the kind of selfishness of his, and then this destroyed burning house, and thinking, We were only meant to come in here to have a look around.
Take some photos.
No more batteries.
Anyway, you're now in this kind of caving in system as well. You know, Armstrong's vanished amongst all the dust and the dark and this kind of crap coming down everywhere. The only way back that you think is still viable is probably going to be either going deeper into the kind of the side tunnel and seeing where that leads, or trying again to get back up the well. You've got seconds now to make a decision.
Yeah, my inclination would be to go back towards the well because of the fire and the explosion, so the water might protect me somehow. So that's where I go.
Okay, so you're wading through the water again, and there's still some of these things there, but they seem to be kind of preoccupied now. They're distracted about getting at themselves. In fact, they're kind of bizarrely kind of clamoring to kind of move around, and they're kind of glitching and disappearing, almost as if they're evaporating into the walls themselves, and then they kind of start to vanish, as if they're moving into something else, and they're gone. But you're still now faced with the bucket is kind of like a little bit nearer to you. It's halfway there now, but in the kind of the confusion above ground with the explosion, and we've seen these guys coming out. You know, Charlotte's stopped winching the bucket. She's just sort of looking around at what the hell's going on, and you're now stood there looking up. It's not quite in reach. You can't quite grasp it.
I try to climb up and get it. I try and clamber up a bit more and somehow make my way out of this
Yes.
dreadful dungeon.
I'm going to bet that means you can draw from the tap.
Does it?
Gonna die.
Well, at least I stopped what seemed like doomsday or something.
Or you hastened it.
Yeah, or that. Come on, this tower has to come down at some point. Oh, they're all stuck.
Center.
Seemed like a good idea.
Oh, wow.
To go on top yet.
Yes. Yes.
So you kind of get a surge, you grab hold of the walls, but then you almost kind of do this kind of wall jump move where you kind of grab hold of the rope, and you're kind of just hanging there swinging for a second, looking down at the smoke and the fires. Now, bizarrely, even though it's water down there, the chemicals are kind of coating the water, and it's all kind of now on fire as well, and it's spilling out, and you start climbing up.
Yeah, you're climbing fast.
And then you get up there and you look around. The whole house now is ablaze. The whole sky is red and there's just smoke everywhere. And you can see the kind of silhouettes of hundreds of figures, but they're all kind of slightly translucent, so it gives this impression of a heat haze, and they're all shimmering in the light, and they're all staring forlornly at this burning wreck of a house. And there must be a good couple of hundred people there. And in front of them, standing near the well, near you, is the barman from the village pub, and you realise that his arms are also that kind of translucent effect taking place, and he just disappears. He vanishes right in front of your very eyes, and he's gone. And then one by one, the people in the village just disappear. And then there's nothing. It's just the burning, smouldering remains of the house, and this horrible, resonant laughter from somewhere deep inside. And then there's silence. And you lucky buggers survived the story.
Yeah.
I think we just gave the villagers' souls to the devil or something like that.
Something terrible happened.
Yeah.
And there's a big hut.
As this little epilogue, we'll just have this before the rolling credit, maybe a post-credit scene. You're strolling away. You're all walking separately to Stu here. You've had enough of him. He's got what he wanted, but you're all walking off. But bizarrely, as you're walking past, Verity pauses next to the National Trust sign and writes it, pointing in the right direction. You're not sure what use it's going to be anymore, but at least it's now pointing to the remains of Hexham Hall, and you go strolling off back towards the village, and it's eerie and it's silent, and you realise there is not a single soul there whatsoever. And you find just all the remains of the village are there, everything's intact, but it's just, you can hear a pin drop. And just not even birdsong, nothing. It's just an eerie, everlasting silence, and you have no idea how you're going to get back home. The end.
Excellent.
How could that not have come down, you lucky people?
We've been practicing all week.
Steady hands.
Yeah.
That is incredible. I can't believe your luck. What was really uncanny is that you had the Lea, completely separately to what you were doing, had basically created a backstory about running a museum exhibit about gambling through the ages, and then you came up as a professional gambler wanting to steal a poker chip set, and so these things just dovetailed eerily and cannily close. So the whole thing about this kind of slightly psychotic alchemist who likes gambling, who may or may not work for the devil, was the kind of the setup, and you guys were just meant to be the unfortunate early victims. But even you were remarkably lucky the whole time.
I must admit, when I heard you describing the room, when Dani saw it in the video camera, you mentioned the backgammon board a couple of times. I thought maybe I should try and steal that as well. I bet someone else is trying to get that.
Yeah. So I had the whole house mapped out because I didn't know what you were going to do, where you were going to go. So I simply had locations and possible relevant bits of information that might come up in the course of the game. And you never did find out what happened to the poor lad.
No, we didn't know.
I
Just
didn't
left
care,
him to his fate.
Well, I ended
What
up with the
happened to
yeah.
Yes.
If you had gone into the other room, you would have found out.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
But so clearly we've got this guy who's doing experiments in kind of transubstantiation and kind of trying to kind of everlasting life, and is accidentally accessed a different dimension that he didn't quite want to visit. So vaguely kind of Cthulhu-esque, vaguely kind of Carcosa, but not necessarily obviously so, but just little hints of that, because generic board game conventions. So
I'm sure it was fine. Whatever happens.